Welcome to Tuesday Night Torah Study! Woo! Oh, my. You'd have thought there was 150 people in the room. That's awesome. Well, welcome to our Tuesday Night Torah Study. So excited, as you can hear, to be here tonight. We're going to go through the Torah portion. If you're new here online, visiting us for the first time on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button, even if you don't like it. I'm kidding. Well, do it anyway. We don't care if you like it or not. It'll help us share for the people that do like it, share it with the people that do like it. So you can go ahead and do that. But if it's your first time here, we do this every Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can find us here every Tuesday. And if we ever change it, we'll give more announcements for that. But every Tuesday at 6:30, we do this, same time, same place. And what we do is we read through the Torah portion for the week. And this week, we're reading Terumah, which means offering. And we have 5 readings. We have 4 chairs. You can start getting those filled. Rabbi Tom is going to be the first reader. But we read through the Torah portion each week. And then afterwards, we have some announcements. And then we generally have the Midrash. But this week, because tonight is also Rosh Chodesh, we're going to be doing the scripture readings. And then we're going to have the Rosh Chodesh service. Rabbi's going to come out for that. And then we have a special treat because he's going to do announcements and he's going to lead the Midrash tonight. So I'm going to be doing the readings. Well, you guys are going to be doing the readings. I'm going to be leading that in prayer and praise time. And then Rabbi will come out when it's time for the Rosh Chodesh service to begin after the readings. Everybody good with that? All right, come on, give Abba some praise. Woo! Hallelujah. I don't know about you guys, but since Shabbat, all I've been getting is huge praises through the phone, email, telephone, and all that. And I'm just so excited about the many praises that are going up. And Abba is definitely answering prayer and just celebrating with one another for all the praises that are happening amongst us and around the world. All right, so we're going to start with our prayer and praise time. So if you have a prayer praise online, you can start typing it in. We got Grayson, and I'm sure we have our Shamish team, Rob and Kurt, on there as well. We ask you to be respectful in the room because this is our service. This is our Torah study service. So be respectful if you're out there on live stream. We definitely appreciate you being here, but this is our service, so please be respectful in the room. And we're going to start here locally with Mr. Paul Rippey.
Shalom, Billy.
Shalom.
Elder Billy.
Shalom, sir.
I would like to remember Esther and Brian because of her grandmother and their family. Keep them in prayer, please.
Amen. We can certainly do that. Certainly do that. All right. Shannon.
Hi. Just a couple of prayers. For a while, it's been on my heart to say prayers for my father. His name's David. I don't know why. I just feel like I wanted to share that. And also as a prayer for myself. A lot more pressure is forming on me, and I can feel it, and because there's a lot more responsibilities that I have now, and making changes, and also there's things I want to pursue, but I have a very critical blue and a very self-depreciating white breathing down my neck all the time, and it gets really, really hard to tell them to shut up. Just trying to exercise more. My reds, shut up, get and get it done already. But anyway, those are my prayers.
Amen. Amen. We can certainly pray for that. Awesome, Shannon. All right, Chris.
I have a praise. I'm going to be graduating in the spring of 2023, so in a little bit over a year. And so I want to get experience in the field and not just have a degree. And so I've been applying to internships, and I have had now 2 interviews. Awesome. So that, I think, has been a praise because I've just been applying, and until actually I get an interview with a company, I've been not sure if my resume is even anything they would look at. So, I praise about the interviews happening, and they went well, I think.
Amen.
I was able to answer the questions pretty smoothly, and just a prayer that I hope I can get an internship for the summer so I can get some experience.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We can definitely keep that in prayer. Awesome. Miss Shira.
Happy Rosh Chodesh.
Rosh Chodesh. Amen.
I always get excited.
Amen.
My older brother, who was in ICU with pneumonia, and they couldn't get him off the ventilator. He's off the ventilator. Woo! He is out of ICU.
Amen.
And looks like he's with us for a while longer.
Amen.
So praise Abba.
Praise Yahweh. That's awesome. That's awesome. Continue the praise I've been getting all week. That's awesome. Ashley.
Rosh Chodesh Sameach.
Yeah, absolutely. Rosh Chodesh Sameach.
Finally got it. I want to ask for prayers. I wasn't originally going to come up, but it's been on and off bothering me. Well, not bothering me, but I've been thinking about it. When I was down at my mom's house, I gathered mail, and the only piece of mail I get is about a guy I sent to prison for 10 plus years. The max was supposed to be like 35, and he served like 12, I think. And I just found out that he got sent back to prison about a year and a half ago, and then I just found out that he's going to be released actually tomorrow. So if you guys can just keep me in my prayers and make sure my immunity doesn't go sideways or anything like that. And then also, if I may have prayers, my carpal tunnel is really bad in this wrist. So.
Amen. We can certainly pray for that. Amen. Grayson, you ready? Awesome.
From an anonymous mom, prayers for healing for me and for my family. Thank you so much.
Amen.
From Nancy Hose, prayers please for my dear friends and MTOI Sabbath partners, Caroline and Elvin Fisk, both of whom are now hospitalized with COVID pneumonia. Thank you all so much.
Amen.
From Yanni, all praise to Abba. I was silent in court today, obeyed Rabbi's counseling, and Abba worked it all for me.
Amen.
And gave me extra.
Amen.
It was amazing to witness. Thank you, Abba and Rabbi.
Praise Yahweh.
There's many unspoken. From Vaskin, praise after 14 months. My new house build kicks off today. Thanks, Rabbi and Elder Billy, for counsel on decisions made. Prayers that all goes well and I can move in given the work situation in my state.
Amen. Amen, Vaskin. That's awesome.
From Pamela Shufford, praise. I called to make an appointment with Rabbi, just waiting now for Elder Billy to call me back to set up a time.
Really?
From David Klein, shalom everyone, happy Torah Tuesday. At work listening, praise Abba, I have found a place to live and on day 2, working at my new job.
Amen. He's working already?
He was just talking about looking for a job and now he has.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's
wow.
a praise.
Praise Abba.
From Shelly Bell Perez, praise Yahweh for everything and prayers for all leadership and for Mishpachah that are working on getting to USA, for all having physical and mental health challenges, and for my drug-addicted daughter.
Amen. Let me say something real quick because can't stop laughing. Hey, to Miss Pamela and to anybody out there who calls in for an appointment with Rabbi, I think it's love. It's a lot of love, and I love all of you. But understand, just for clarification, so people don't think that we're not here working because of that comment. If you call in and you have restrictions on when you can get a phone call, when you can receive the phone call, we have people walk in all day, call all day, and so we fit you in when we can fit you in. If you have limitations, that's why you haven't got that phone call yet, because you gave us limitations on when we can call and get that scheduled. So let that be a lesson for everybody out there who's calling or trying to get an appointment. Our phones don't stop ringing. And Rabbi Tom can tell you the emails don't stop coming. So if you give us limitations, we'll get to you as soon as we can. We haven't forgot about you. I just got the message yesterday with limitations on it. So be patient with us, and we're going to be patient unless it's urgent to get to you in the order we receive it or that we can get to it based on your availability. Because we're always here and we're always working, all right? So I don't want anybody to think when they hear, I don't even know what to call that. I don't know if that was a prayer or a praise. I don't know if it was either one. But anyway, it sounds like a scolding, and I don't want to scold, and I don't want to be scolded. If you got limitation, it's going to limit me and my availability to get back to you when you think I should. So unless it's urgency, I just want to put that out there because people, I just can't believe it. But anyway, I love you, Miss Pamela. I'll call you and get you scheduled as soon as my availability fits your availability. All right, love you. All right, Grayson.
From MTOI, Philippines Jet, praising Abba that slowly more and more people are dwelling and slowly understanding MTOI's structure, and it's wonderful to hear all the praises on how the structure changing their lives. Shalom, fam.
Amen.
From Bonnie Blue to A, prayer please for a friend awaiting diagnosis, possibly cancer. May Yahweh give he and his wife strength and healing. Leanne.
Amen.
From Ruth Ann, praise for all the growth and prayers for you left wrist to heal. From Double D, prayer request for our family dealing with death of a family member, friends recovery from COVID, and many unspoken.
Amen.
And then there's many unspoken from First Love Ya. Please pray for me and my family, drug-addicted family member, strife as I have adopted my granddaughters because of their addiction and bad choices. My husband's poor health getting worse daily. From Kay Carrick, praise the Father for Rabbi. It was confusing for me to not be able to get back to the U.S., but Rabbi said this Shabbat, the Father does not withhold any good thing, and that brought me so much peace.
Amen.
From Ellen Watson, pray for the Cayman Islands, high-level COVID-19. From Kay Carrick, prayers for all the international MTOI family. From Brandy, prayers for Parker and Riley. They have a fever. And I believe that is all.
Amen. We can certainly lift Riley and Parker up in prayer. I don't know how Parker has a fever because he's playing with my son on the game station thing all night. I love them and miss them already, so we can definitely keep them in prayer. We also want to lift up in prayer all those prayer and praises that have come in since Shabbat, which I said at the beginning. We've got a lot of praise, and I'm really excited for the work that Abba is doing in the lives of his people. Such encouraging to me, especially doing what we do. We hear both sides, but I'm very happy that lately, the last few weeks, we've been getting way more praise than prayer requests for needs. There's nothing wrong with praying and asking for help, but I'm seeing the praise really increasing with emails and phone calls and things that we get. So I'm really excited about that, and really excited for all of you that are here tonight. Give yourselves a hand. It's almost quite a few people here tonight. It's very exciting. All right, so we're going to start our Torah reading. As I said earlier, Rabbi Tom is going to go first. There are 5 readings. If we fill up the 4 seats, it looks like somebody already got their seat marked, saved, so we can fill up the other 3 seats. Yes, we can get a volunteer to pray, and it's going to be John Dingerman, since he reminded me. He's like, oh, man. We're going to get him to come up and pray while we're getting the seats filled. Thank you so much, John. Such a, you did it last time too? Oh, I forgot. Did you pray? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Abba, Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to come together tonight, and to open up your Torah and to be instructed and learn from what you have for us to learn today. We thank you for all of these praises and the prayers, and we just give it all to you in the name of Yeshua. Amen.
Amen, amen. All right. So Rabbi Tom is going to come up, and we're starting in Exodus 25. And the first reading is going to be Exodus 25, verses 1 through 20. And Rabbi Tom is going to read that one after the blessing. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Rabbi Tom, was come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. 1 through 20, yes, sir.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, that they take up a contribution for me. From everyone whose heart moves him, you shall take up my contribution. And this is the contribution which you shall take up from them: gold and silver and bronze, and blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine linen and goat's hair, and ram skins dyed red, and fine leather and acacia wood, oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense, shoham stones and stones to be set in the shoulder garment and in the breastplate. And they shall make me a set-apart place, and I shall dwell in their midst. According to all that I show you, the pattern of the dwelling place and the pattern of all its furnishings, make it exactly so. And they shall make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. And you shall overlay it with clean gold. Inside and outside you shall overlay it. And you shall make on it a molding of gold all around. And you shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in its 4 corners, 2 rings on one side and 2 rings on the other side. And you shall make poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold, and shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark, to lift up the ark by them. The poles are in the rings of the ark, they are not taken from it. And into the ark you shall put the witness which I give you, and you shall make a lid of atonement of clean gold, 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold, and make them of beaten work at the 2 ends of the lid of atonement. And make 1 cherub at the end, and the other cherub at the other end. Make the cherubim from the lid of atonement at its 2 ends. And the cherubim shall be spreading out their wings above, covering the lid of atonement with their wings, with their faces toward each other, the faces of the cherubim turned toward the lid of atonement.
Amen, amen. Thank you, Rabbi Tom. Next, we have Anthony. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Anthony, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. You're going to take us from verse 21 through verse 40.
And you shall put the lid of atonement on top of the ark, and put it into the ark, the witness which I give you. And I shall meet with you there, and from above the lid of atonement, from between the 2 cherubim which are on the ark of the witness, I shall speak to you all that which I command you concerning the children of Israel. And you shall make a table of acacia wood, 2 cubits long, 1 cubit wide, and 1.5 cubits high. And you shall overlay it with clean gold, and shall make a molding of gold all around, and shall make for it a rim of handbreadth all around, and shall make a gold molding for the rim all around. And you shall make for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings in the 4 corners that are at its 4 legs. The rings are close to the rim as holders for the poles to lift the table. And you shall make the poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold, and the table shall be lifted with them. And you shall make its dishes and its ladles and its jars and its bowls for pouring, and make them of clean gold. And you shall put the showbread on the table before me continually. And you shall make a lampstand of clean gold. The lampstand is made of a beaten work. Its base and its shafts, its cups, its ornamental knobs and blossoms are from it. And 6 branches shall come out of its sides. 3 branches of the lampstand out of one side, and 3 branches of the lampstand out of the other side. 3 cups made like almond flowers on one branch, with ornamental knob and blossom, and 3 cups made like an almond flowers on the other branch, with ornamental knob and blossom. So for the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand. And on the lampstand itself are 4 cups made like almond flowers, with ornamental knob and blossom, and a knob under the first 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the second 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the third 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand. Their knobs and their branches are of the same, all of it one beaten work of clean gold. And you shall make 7 lamps for it, and they shall mount its lamps so that they give light in front of it. And its snuffers and the trays are of clean gold. And it is made of a talent of clean gold with all these utensils. So see and do according to the pattern which was shown to you on the mountain.
Amen, amen. Thank you, Anthony. All right, Miss Janet. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Janet, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, you're going to take us to chapter 26, verses 1 through 19.
And make the dwelling place with 10 curtains of fine woven linen, and blue and purple and scarlet material. Make them with cherubim, the work of a skilled workman. The length of each curtain is 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. All the curtains having one measure. 5 curtains are joined to each other, and 5 curtains are joined to each other. And you shall make loops of blue on the edge of the end curtain on one set, and do the same on the edge of the end curtain of the second set. Make 50 loops in one curtain, and make 50 loops on the edge of the end curtain of the second set, the loops being opposite to each other. And you shall make 50 hooks of gold, and shall join the curtains together with the hooks, and the dwelling place shall be one. And you shall make curtains of goat's hair for a tent over the dwelling place. Make 11 curtains. The length of each curtain is 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits, one measure to the 11 curtains. And you shall join the 5 curtains by themselves, and the 6 curtains by themselves, and you shall double over the 6 curtains at the front of the tent. And you shall make 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in one set, and 50 loops on the edge of the curtain of the second set. And you shall make 50 bronze hooks, and put the hooks into the loops, and join the tent together, and it shall be one. And the overlapping part of the rest of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remains, shall hang over the back of the dwelling place. And a cubit on one side, and a cubit on the other side of what remains of the length of the curtains of the tent is to hang over the sides of the dwelling place, on this side and on that side, to cover it. And you shall make a covering of ram skins dyed red for the tent, and a covering of fine leather above that. And for the dwelling place you shall make the boards of acacia wood standing up. 10 cubits is the length of a board, and a cubit and a half the width of each board. 2 tenons in each board for binding one to another. Do the same for all the boards of the dwelling place. And you shall make the boards of the dwelling place 20 boards for the south side, and make 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under each of the boards for its 2 tenons.
Amen. Thank you, Janet. All right, we have Chris. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Chris, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of his hands. Amen. You're going to take us from chapter 26, verse 20 through 37.
And for the second side of the dwelling place on the north side, 20 boards, and there are 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. And for the extreme parts of the dwelling place, westward, make 6 boards, and make 2 boards for the 2 back corners of the dwelling place. And they are double beneath, and similarly they are complete to the top, to the one ring. So it is for both of them. They are for the 2 corners. And they shall be 8 boards, and their sockets of silver 16 sockets, 2 sockets under the one board and 2 sockets under the other board. And ye shall make bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the dwelling place, and 5 bars for the boards on the other side of the dwelling place, and 5 bars for the boards of the side of the dwelling place for the extreme parts westward, with the middle bar in the midst of the boards going through from end to end. And overlay the boards with gold, and make their rings of gold as holders for the bars, and overlay the bars with gold. And you shall raise up the dwelling place according to its pattern, which you were shown on the mountain. And you shall make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linen, the work of a skilled workman, made with cherubim. And you shall put it on the 4 columns of acacia wood, overlaid with gold, their hooks of gold, upon 4 sockets of silver. And you shall hang the veil from the hooks, and shall bring the ark of the witness there behind the veil. And the veil shall make a separation for you between the set apart and the most set apart place. And you shall put the lid of atonement upon the ark of the witness in the most set apart place. And you shall set the table outside the veil, and a lampstand opposite the table on the side of the dwelling place toward the south, and put the table on the north side. And ye shall make a covering for the door of the tent, of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linen, made by a weaver. And you shall make for the covering 5 columns of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold, their hooks of gold, and you shall cast 5 sockets of bronze for them.
Amen. Thank you, Chris. All right, Ashley, our final reader. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Ashley, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity upon all the works of her hands. Amen. You're going to take us from 27, verse 1 through verse 19.
And you shall make a slaughter place of acacia wood, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. The slaughter place is square, and its height 3 cubits. And you shall make its horns on its 4 corners. Its horns are of the same, and you shall overlay it with bronze. And you shall make its pots to receive its ashes, and its shovels, and its basins, and its forks, and its fire holders. Make all its utensils of bronze. And you shall make a grating for it, a bronze network, and shall make on the network 4 bronze rings at its 4 corners, and shall put it under the rim of the slaughter place beneath, so that the network is halfway up the slaughter place. And you shall make poles for the slaughter place, poles of acacia wood, and shall overlay them with bronze. And the poles shall not be put in the rings, and the poles shall be put on 2 sides of the slaughter place for lifting it. Make it hollow with boards, as it was shown to you on the mountain. So they are. To make it, and you shall make the courtyard of the dwelling place for the south side screens for the courtyard made of fine woven linen, 100 cubits long for one side. And its 20 columns, and their 20 sockets of bronze, the hooks of the columns, and their bands of silver. And so for the north side in length, screens 100 cubits long, with its 20 columns, and their 20 sockets of bronze, and the hooks of the columns, and their bands of silver. And with the screen, width of the courtyard on the west side screens of 50 cubits, with their 10 columns and their 10 sockets. And the width of the courtyard on the east side 50 cubits. And on the screens on one side of the gate 15 cubits, with their 3 columns and their 3 sockets. And on the other side, screens of 15 cubits with 3 columns and 3 sockets. And for the gate of the courtyard, a covering 20 cubits long of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linen made by a weaver, 4 columns and 4 sockets. All the columns around the courtyard have bands of silver, their hooks silver, and their sockets bronze. The length of the courtyard is 100 cubits, and the width 50 by 50, and the height 5 cubits, woven of fine linen thread, and its sockets of bronze. All the utensils of the dwelling place for all its service, all its pegs, and all the pegs of the courtyards are bronze.
Amen. Thank you, Ashley. That was awesome. Come on, let's give a hand for all of our readers. Great job, all of you. All right. Now, Rabbi's going to come up and continue the service. Come on, give him a hand.
All right. Amen. Excellent job, everyone. Fantastic. All right. The traditional blessing after the Torah reading. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Yahweh noten haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us a Torah of truth, has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. Amen. Amen. All right. So, as you all should know, we're going to be having a little bit different Tuesday because it is also Rosh Chodesh. All right, so it's Rosh Chodesh for the month of Adar I, because we get 2 Adars this year. Okay? Well, we get 2 Adars. You only get 1. Okay. That's her daughter's name. Okay, so we are going to go through some announcements first, and then we'll go through the Rosh Chodesh service. Okay? And then after that, we'll do the Midrash. This gives you plenty of time to think about what you want to say from today's readings. And the reason I'm doing that instead of doing the Midrash first is that if that goes long, then maybe we won't have as much time to do the Rosh Chodesh, so I'll do that. It'll also limit how much I talk after the Rosh Chodesh service, because we're going to do the Midrash anyway. So it helps keep me in line. All right, which is only fair. All right, so let's go through the announcements. So first of all, I want to welcome all our guests that are out there. All right, we have 180-something of you or so online, following along right now. We're really appreciative of the opportunity to share and to serve in this capacity. One of the things I should bring out for those that may be watching, and hopefully a few people in particular may be watching right now, because I know there's a little bit of an issue for some people as to, why we do things the way that we do. And I mean, for example, like doing Torah study tonight instead of on Saturday. Well, she said, because we can. Well, we can, whatever it is. But listen, the answer is simple. There's no scriptural mandate to read the Torah portion cycle. But we have all experienced, those of us who have done it, that there's a wisdom in the generational, cycle of doing this every year. Okay, so we can see why people do it, so we do it as well. We also understand from the way I've been teaching and the way I was given it from above, that there needs to be a teacher who takes that of the word and helps you put all the pieces of the puzzle together so that you can get a fuller understanding. I'm not going to say full, meaning perfect, but a more full understanding of every aspect of the things that you're now expected to understand and do. And let's be honest about it. The Torah portions, except for maybe the one with Leviticus 11 with the kashrut in it, really, there's no Torah portion that covers any one subject thoroughly. There are pieces of the subjects covered in every Torah portion. I mean, even take something as basic as Shabbat. There's no way to fully understand Shabbat just looking at one Torah portion that has Shabbat in it, like the one with Exodus 20 in it, which we did a week or so ago, or the one with Deuteronomy in it. It's only going to give you that much. There's more to Shabbat than just in that one Torah portion. Same with all subjects. So please be at ease about our doing the Torah portion cycle on Tuesdays. The other part of it is that there are those that would wonder, well, you know, if you gave it, you know, more time and maybe talked a little bit less about whatever you want to talk about on Shabbat, we could do the Brit Hadashah and the Haftarah. The Haftarah being the prophets and the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament. Well, yeah, we could, but then you wouldn't get all the other stuff that you do get. And again, remember, there's no scriptural mandate for us to do that. Now, on the other hand, you don't need me or should not need me to read those things. You can read them yourself and should be every week as part of your studies. I mean, how long did it take us here? It's 7 o'clock now. It took us 30 minutes to read those few chapters. You don't have 30 minutes a week to read that stuff? And then what about reading the Haftarah portion? The Haftarah portion is smaller than the Torah portion. Not even sometimes a whole chapter. It could be a part of a chapter. So it's not even as long as that. And the Brit Hadashah also is always a shorter portion, maybe a part of a chapter. Okay? So as you're looking into these things, let's realize that this is not the responsibility from the microphone. What you want from the microphone is you want someone to encourage you to do what you need to do and help you to understand that which you don't know what to do or how to do it or whatever, the details of the thing that you're expected to do. And so this is the important thing. So let's keep that in mind, because I know that comes up. We get emails about it, and people have their own issues and that kind of thing. And I understand that. We've debated that in the leadership in the past. You know, what should we require people or not to do as an MTOI affiliate on Shabbat? And the wisdom, I believe it was wisdom that I was given to share, was you can do whatever you feel you need to do in your group locally. We did not mandate that they do or do not do anything in particular. So that would be based on the inspiration of the local group to do what they do. So please allow us that same courtesy is the point I'm trying to make. That we're going to do what we feel is what we need to do for the body from this microphone. All right? Okay. So that's why tonight we read the Torah portion, and then we will discuss that Torah portion and make sure that we're understanding what it was trying to show us and what it was trying to give us. Remember, it was written as examples for us, is what Paul tells us, right? So what kind of, you know, what can we glean out of it? Okay, the announcements. So let's go into what is going on here. So if you just found us and you're a guest, etc., there are things that you might want to know about that we offer, because after all, you know, I think it's funny because some of you, here's a good question that came up recently in the ladies, and I don't think Yanni would mind me bringing it up, but, you know, it talks about that we should be, how does she put it? When it talks about Yeshua making the disciples fishers of men. And she wanted to know, well, has anybody ever fished me? You know, have I met a fisherman? Well, in those days, without technology, the fishing was done by a person showing up at your town, standing up in the middle of the square and starting to preach, so to speak, and let people know that there's information they may need to be aware of that they don't know. And then those who were drawn to that. Okay? The disciples didn't stand in the marketplace in line to pick up food and start bothering the person in line with them. Okay? They would go and stand in the square, and word would spread, hey, there's a teacher in town that you may want to check out. Okay, now, today, we have all this technology. If you found this ministry, and if you see this as being of above from the Creator, well, then I would be, in that case, a fisherman. And I cast a very large net out there onto the internet. All right? And that catches, so to speak, the whomsoever's are drawn to that. And so that's really how we do the fishing now compared to back in the day. So in case you're wondering, well, what about all the stuff we're supposed to be doing? Well, we're doing it. We're just leveraging the technology in a much more powerful way than they used to be able to do it walking from town to town. And so we are doing all that. So just kind of keep that in mind. So for you who have found us online, you've been caught in the net. I apologize. It's not a tight net. You can leave if you want. It's easy to take yourself out of that net if you wish. But we do offer some things for you because we put these things out there as a blessing, hopefully, to everyone that can find it. And so we do several things that we put on the web. So number one, you found us tonight, Tuesday nights, Torah Tuesday, we do the Torah portions. All right? On Saturdays, we stream also on YouTube. We do Shabbat services. And that streams at 1:15. If you just found us tonight, we started at 6:30. Runs about 3 hours normally. And on Saturday, we start at 1:15 Eastern time. All right, these are all Eastern, Standard Time here in the U.S. Now, our Shabbat service tends to go a little over 4 hours. We go to about 5:30. We do start streaming at 1. We don't go live until quarter after. So there'll be some recorded things that'll be playing for the first 15 minutes, and then we go live at 1:15. Okay, so you're welcome to come and join us for that. We're live here on YouTube. It is a very interactive service. You can type into the chat, and there's times when we're asking if people have prayer needs. There's times when we're asking if people have comments or questions about the teaching, and you can type in, and a lot of those comments and questions do get addressed. And some of you in the chat box are going, yeah, a lot of it doesn't. Well, because it's on Saturday, 600 of you, and I can't possibly answer all 600 people's comments and questions in the time we have available, okay? But we do try to answer them as best we can. All right, so keep that in mind. Now, so you're welcome to join us for that. If you do come, we ask that you come as a guest, which means that you would respectfully and politely respect the way we do things, even if it's different than what you would agree with or not agree with. And, we don't need any ugliness in the chat box, which happens almost every week a little bit, but we want to hopefully encourage you not to do that, okay? Is this mine, the water bottle? Thank you. All right, so then we also have, to go along with our Torah portion cycle, we have a program for the children. Okay, it's called Parsha Pearls. This actually publishes on Sunday, so you have it all week long in advance for that week's Torah portion. So like the Torah portion we did tonight, Terumah, which was pronounced so very well by Elder Billy. Terumah, okay? Tonight's Torah portion was published with the MTOI program, the Parsha Pearls program, on Sunday. So we're doing it tonight, and a lot of the rest of the world will be doing it on Saturday, okay? So MTOI is the website for it. YMTOI.org stands for Young Messianic Torah Observant Israel. And you can get this program. It's free for the children. It's broken up into 2 categories, ages 5 through 8. We call them the Gem Seekers, and then the Pearl Seekers are ages 9 to about 19. And they're going through the same cycle, the 1-year cycle from Genesis to Deuteronomy. And in it, you're basically going to get a PDF on the website that you can download of about 30-something pages each. It varies a little bit each week, but about 35 pages or so. And in it, you're going to get a tremendous amount of things that your children can enjoy and learn from as they engage with the Word. That's the main thing we want them to do, is to engage with the Word. And we want to make it fun, too, so they'll enjoy it. They'll desire to do it. They'll seek it out, because we do things more if we find them to be joyful than arduous, right? And with children, a lot of this could seem pretty, more like schoolwork as opposed to fun and joy and learning about their Creator. And so we make this very enjoyable. The program has in it a lesson questions, Hebrew word studies, which are several of the words from that week's Torah portion in Hebrew and flashcards, so your children can learn them if they would like. Memory verses, word searches, crossword puzzles, mazes, craft, notebook pages, coloring pages, even a song and a snack, all related to the Torah portion. All right? Every bit of that will be Torah portion specific. All right, so enjoy that. Use it all week long. You could use it in your Sabbath school. You could use it in your homeschooling, and we pray that it's a blessing to you. All right, we also have audio scripture readings that go along with not only the Torah portions, but all of Scripture from Genesis to Revelation, put together by Shira Wendling. All right, Shira. They're downloadable. They're free. They're on the MTOI website, mtoi.org, under Media, under audio scripture readings, and the first 5 books are broken up into Torah portions. So you can listen to this week's Torah portion, if you like, separately by itself as a portion in itself. All right, then we have a program for the teenagers called Torah Time for Teens. I know it's a very creative name, right? We have a Torah Time program for the teens, so let's call it Torah Time for Teens. Okay. It's with Rabbi Tom Mitchell. Rabbi does a great job. Okay. Every Thursday at 1 p.m., 1 in the afternoon. Okay, that's for the teenagers. All right, so 13 to 19. Okay, everybody else, let them have their space. We want them to be able to feel comfortable, to share, to interact, to ask questions. So if you're an adult who happens to be with your teenager, just at least for the most part, be off camera at least, okay? So we're not making children think that they're adults involving themselves in this. We want them to have that comfort and freedom to be themselves, all right? So it's a Zoom platformed class. So you need to have the Zoom link. To get the Zoom link, you email us at torahtime@mtoi.org, torahtime@mtoi.org, and it's an autoresponder. It automatically sends you the link. Same link every week, so if you haven't used the same one, if you forgot the link, lost it or whatever, just email us again and it'll automatically send you the link. Okay? We've been averaging about 20 to 25 people, children in that room, the teenagers in that room, and they're from all over the world. I mean, we have teenagers from all over the place, so it's fantastic. It runs about 45 minutes. It's not like the stuff I do. That goes hours and hours. But Rabbi Tom keeps it right and to the point, 45 minutes or so, and it's a great program. All right, what will they be learning? He has the children going through some of the books we don't go through as often. And it's kind of really good for them to get to learn a little bit of what's going on in some of those books. He's also going to make sure they know what the Hebrew month is and what the Hebrew day is and some other things in Hebrew that they are expected to know, as he'll quiz them on those things, okay? All right. Then we have our zone meetings. Okay, these are all these things, if you're new, that you can take advantage of, right? So we meet in what I call the zone meetings, all right? So the time zones that a lot of people that are right now watching even are many hours different than from where we are here. And we realize that while we do a Shabbat service at 1 o'clock Eastern time, well, guess what? People who live in Europe and the UK, it's already probably sundown by then or close to it. If they're in like China, Australia, the Philippines, it's definitely already sundown into Sunday. And so we wanted to do something when it's Shabbat where they are. So once a month, we do something on Saturday in a different time zone range, okay? So zone 1 is the first one we do, and zone 1 is the first Saturday of the month. So every month, the first Saturday of the month. And that's done live during our service here on YouTube, right? Live stream in the place where the teaching time would be. And that is so the next one will be February the 5th. That's the first Saturday in February. And that's for like the US, Canada, Mexico, South and Central Americas, the islands that are all connected with all that, in those 4 or 5 hours of time zones, right? Between Eastern and Pacific, you got 4 zones there, and so that we can kind of meet those needs of the people that are within that range. What that means is that everybody, by the way, can come to these meetings, but the people that live in that time zone range, in zone 1, they get to ask the questions. So these are international Shabbat Q&As. Okay, so a chance to ask me questions. If you notice on your slide, it says Nasi Steve Berkson. I also go by Rabbi, either one, so that I can aggravate everybody that thinks titles are bad. I have an email about that in front of me. Okay, so, and by the way, for all of you that are hung up on titles, which you think, it's funny, they all think I'm the one who's hung up on the title when it's them, because they're the ones having a cow about it. But anyway, so listen to the teaching that I did. It's an in focus called, what's it called, No Man Rabbi? Okay. Okay, so listen to that in focus, and I explain what Matthew 23 is really talking about, okay? Because I know everybody wants to throw Matthew 23 as just, I've never read it maybe, you know? By the way, don't you know what Messiah said? I'm pretty familiar with it, actually. Okay, now, so zone 1, first Saturday of the month, and that covers really this time zone area range here in the US, Canada, etc. Then zone 2. Now we shift when we go to zone 2 and zone 3 to doing these meetings on Zoom. So to get the link for them, you need to go to email us at zoom@mtoi.org. Zoom@mtoi.org. You get an autoresponder. It's a different link than the Torah time one it's a different room. So the zone meetings are all in the same room though. So zone 2, zone 3, same link. Okay. And the Zoom meetings, so the zone 2 is the second Sabbath of the month, the second Shabbat, at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. That'll be on February 12th. And that covers the UK, Europe, Africa, etc. Everybody else can still come. They're the ones that are going to get to ask the questions, all right? Okay. And by the way, we get over 100 computers logged on from around the world in these zone meetings. So it's fabulous to get together. You'll get to meet a lot of people. It's awesome. And I like the zone meetings that are in Zoom because I actually get to see you guys, the ones who are brave enough to turn your cameras on, okay, wherever you are, and I get to see you there and smiling faces and the excitement, and the children also, and they wave, and it's just great. All right, then we have Zone 3. All right, Zone 3 is Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, China, etc. 12 to 16, 17 hours ahead of us. And so we're going to do that on the third Friday of the month, which will be February the 18th at 10 p.m. Okay, 10 p.m. Friday the 18th. All right, Friday the 18th. Now, that's because at 10 p.m. our time, it'll be 10 a.m. in the Philippines, later to, that morning or into early afternoon in places like Australia, New Zealand, etc. So we'll be able to cover those time zones. All right. If you have questions and you'd like to have them submitted to us for these zone meetings, we have an email called questions@mtoi.org, questions@mtoi.org. This is a suggestion box. I get emails every week of people complaining that we don't answer their emails because you're sending them to the wrong place. I don't mean wrong place meaning to our ministry. You're just sending them to the wrong email address. Okay, so if you want to have your question answered like right now, don't send it here. Or send it here, but also do something else. And I'll tell you the something else. Send it to admin, A-D-M-I-N, admin@mtoi.org. Okay, Rabbi Tom gets them first, and then he'll go through them and see if I need to answer it, etc. Now, or you can simply call us. Our phone number is on our website, 423-250-3020. All right, it's right on our website. Just give us a call, and you can make an appointment to talk to one of us, or if somebody's available, we can answer your question right there. This is a suggestion box. We like to have a way for us to accumulate questions that when we see maybe a theme where a lot of people asking the same type of question, we may make a video that just addresses that question. Or we may bring it up in one of the zone meetings. So when you submit them to this email address, questions@mtoi.org, please write what zone you're in. If you don't know, just write what country. Put that right there in the memo at the top, right? Right there to say, the subject line is, I'm in Germany, I'm in Australia, I'm in New Zealand, I'm in England, wherever. It doesn't matter. Wherever you are, just put that. We'll know what zone you're in. That way, if I choose to answer that question during a zone meeting, I'll bring it up in the appropriate zone. Okay? All right, so then we get to tonight, which is Rosh Chodesh for Adar I. All right, awesome. So we'll be doing that right after we finish the announcements. Okay, then we go to Friday. This Friday is February the 4th. It's also our Erev Shabbat, which is the first Friday of the month, and it's our 10-year anniversary. I should get like Elder Billy up here so that when I say things like he can do the woo, he can do that part, right? All right, so this Friday. Now, everybody should already be signed up who's coming. We had a deadline of Saturday, although we did have one person try to get in on Sunday. Well, we allowed them. But anyway, okay, so everybody should already be signed up. I'm going to throw something out there because, after all, I've been only up here for a few minutes, and I don't think I've offended anybody yet, so it's about time. I try to have at least one offensive thing to piss somebody off at least per 30 minutes. So here we go. All right. So I have an awareness, just in case you don't think this, and so does all the rest of the leadership, of the people that decided they're coming to the free meal who never show up for anything else. Okay? And don't think that we don't find that odd. Okay, that the last time that that you were here was maybe we're all having a meal of some sort. Okay, so I'm not judging anybody. I'm just wondering why it takes a free meal to get you to show up. And I'm going to be interested to see everybody that comes Friday night who doesn't show up on Saturday. Okay? If you come Friday night, I expect you to be here Saturday. Unless, of course, you get sick or something. I get that, right? You have something happen. But I just find it really interesting looking at the list of over 200 of you that are coming Friday night because I said I was buying the meal. Somebody said that's sad, and I agree. Okay? And so some of you may need to self-edit and take yourselves off the list because you know you're wrong. Or you need to show up Friday and make sure you keep showing up. Let that be an inspiration. I don't care about that we spent the money on the food. I just think it doesn't do you well to have that look, okay? And basically I find that most people, it's interesting, they claim to be like they avoid things that would be shaming, right? They don't, well, I don't want to come to you, Rabbi, because I'll be embarrassed to admit whatever. And so they don't counsel this, that, and the other thing. But they have no shame to show up on a free dinner, knowing they haven't been here in 4 months or whatever it is, okay? All right? And so not everybody here will know, but everybody that comes every week will know. And I want you to come in, and I want your face will be scarlet as you're embarrassed, and that's good. But you should come in ready to look everybody in the eye and say, and you'll see me again tomorrow, and the next Saturday, and the next Saturday. All right? Own it and fix it. I don't want you to be ashamed and embarrassed and not come if you're planning now to come. I want you to come ready to stand there and say, you know what? I haven't been coming, and I need to fix this, and I'm here, and I'm fixing it. Amen? All right? Hey, look, and if it took a free dinner to make that happen, at least inspire you, I'm glad we did that. Anyway, but we're excited. It's been 10 years here in the greater Chattanooga, Cleveland area since we started the congregation here on January of 2012, in January 2012. So we're very excited to have been able to serve in this area for that period of time. So come and celebrate with us. This is for, I know we've already closed the registration. Just so you know, this was for the people that attend here on at least a consistently irregular basis. Because there are people that come because they live far away, but they come every 5 or 6 weeks. But they come, at least 7, 8 times a year because they come to have, part of the fellowship. Not just the feast. I mean, they just come here to be a part of the congregation. So I don't want you thinking that. But it's not like we just opened up the doors to anybody in MTOI who watches on live stream to come and have a meal with us. This is a local congregation celebration for the fact that we've been around for all this time. Okay, so we're very excited about it. So we will be providing the meal, and so just come ready to go. I think when you registered, my wife would have told you, or Marlene would have told you, that we are expecting you to dress up, okay? So this is a dress up deal. I'm being forced to wear a suit. That means you need to wear one too. All right, so this is, you know what's funny? You'll do this for the celebration, and then you won't do this every Saturday, which doesn't make any sense. You'll dress down on Shabbat, but then you'll dress up for a dinner. I find it really interesting. Okay? All right. So just so you know, if you don't have, that's okay. Wear what you've got. Wear the best you can. But we're trying to have this be a dress-up sort of a celebration. Okay? And I know some of the people have asked for, hey, can we do something more formal one time and just everybody gets a chance to get excited, dress up a little bit. So this is it. Okay, this Friday night. All right, I think I've beat that horse to death, so we can move on. Okay, we got our leadership meetings coming up. Yeah. On Sunday the 13th. Okay, so please pray for those meetings. These are men that are taking time voluntarily out of their lives to see what they can do to work together to serve you as effectively as possible. All right? And so they're great men. I'm very proud of them, and I think you would be well served to certainly pray for them. And absolutely, if you don't, you have no business complaining about anything. And I'm not saying that just to say that. I mean, I'm dead serious. If you don't pray for me, you should never have a harsh word ever out of your mouth about me. You shouldn't anyway, but okay? If you don't pray for your leaders, I literally want to say, how dare you mouth off about them? Do you understand how wrong that is? Oh, you'll whine and talk to everybody about it, but you won't get on your knees and pray about it and ask Abba to work with that and help and bless and whatever it is that you need to say? That doesn't make any sense at all. And if you call Elder Billy, the first thing he's going to ask you always is, did you pray about it? Because if you ever go to him, he's going to say, did you pray about it? And so don't ever say anything about your leadership that you haven't prayed about. And then if you pray about it, you may realize that you probably don't need to say anything anyway. Because Abba is the one that's responsible for that person that he allowed or put in leadership. Not you, not anybody else. Abba put them there, he can take them out. That's up to him. That's what David said about Saul, right? He said, not my job to take him out. He's put there. It doesn't matter. He lost his mind. He's trying to kill me. He's still the king. Put there legitimately. There you have it. All right. So please pray for your leaders when we have these meetings every month. All right. This is if you want to know more about the leadership, you can just call us. We'll tell you more about that. But we have about 26, 7, something like that, congregational leaders from around the world that all work together as a part of MTOI. Yeah, you can get excited about that. All right, then we have Purim coming up. All right. Every time I see that, I want to go, Chag Purim, Chag Purim. The song is just since I was like, you know, a little preschooler in Hebrew school learning these songs. All right, so Thursday night, March the 17th at 6:30, we're going to have dinner together here, okay? We're going to be having a Mediterranean, Middle Eastern sort of theme going on there, okay? Bring your own food. Bring it ready, so we're going to put it sort of buffet style in there. We'll all share in and enjoy each other's cooking, and that'll be at 6:30. We're also going to read the book of Esther. All right, we're going to be reading the Megillah. That's what the book of Esther is referred to often as the Megillah, or these books are called the Megillot. But usually when we say the Megillah, they're specifically talking about Esther. Okay? Now, then we have Passover. All right, Pesach 2022. All right, so April 15th to the 24th. So the Passover meal is Friday night the 15th. Saturday is the first holy day, and then the 22nd is the last holy day. It's a Friday. That's the days you need to have off from work. Well, you shouldn't need me to tell you to get off from work on a Saturday, but certainly Friday the 22nd. Now, if you're here, we're going to be celebrating the whole time. Now, because the final holy day is on a Friday, which means that sundown will come and it'll go right from holy day into Sabbath, we're going to stay through the weekend, and we encourage you to do as well, and we'll celebrate all the way through to the 24th. All right? Okay. So to register, by the way, we have, I forgot what the number, 321? What did you tell me? It's in my notes here. Hold on. 312 people now registered. It was 311, but we had one last-minute person who we're going to tease relentlessly because he should have got it in a lot earlier. Okay. Although he did tell me, I don't know why anybody waits to register. That's what he said. Okay. Grayson. I'm not going to mention who it was, but, you know, kind of sounds like Grayson. Okay. So, but anyway, so Passover 2022. And so please go ahead and register. We still have time. The deadline for registration, I believe, will be like March 15th, so about a month ahead. So it's on the form anyway. So call here to register is our preference, or fill out the form, mtoi.org/Passover, and you can fill out the form. It is fillable online, but it doesn't give it to us if you fill it online. You still have to save it to your computer and then email it to us, or print it out and mail it to us, okay? All right, and you can email it to feasts. I gotta get a better word. This is like it sounds like mumble when I try to say it. Feast plural, okay? Feasts at mtoi.org, okay? So that's what we need. So you have to email it there. feasts@mtoi.org. Okay, now. So please go ahead and get that information to us. Register. You don't have to give us any money up front necessarily. We would like you to, so we can get some of these things going that we need to pay for up front. We just need you to pay in full when you get here, so you can make sure to do that. Because some of you I know are still waiting because you are waiting on finances or something, or a refund from the government because of your taxes. Whatever it is you're waiting for, that's okay. Just get registered if you're definitely coming so that we can plan for you. All right? And then we have a deadline for where we want to get the money in and everything else. It's all in the paperwork. You get to know about it. All right. That's it for the announcements. Let me make sure there's anything else. I think we're good. All right. So let's go ahead and get ready for our Rosh Chodesh service. So you guys online, if you're ready, I'll get my silver trumpet out, and we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you that are online, normally our Rosh Chodesh service is a separate event, but we're doing it tonight as part of the Torah study, so we're going to do it as one event, okay? It's a participation service, so you're going to read along. We're going to all recite out loud together what's on the screen. We're going to have the slides with the service on the screen. This is a very short service, okay? There's like 15 minutes. It's not very long as far as the service itself. So you can stand for the whole thing if you can. That'd be great. So if everybody would go ahead and rise. Okay. Mercy, Marty, we ready back there? We're all good? Okay. All right, we're going to begin with the sounding of the silver trumpet. Amen, amen. Okay, we're going to now go to the slides and we'll all read together. Beginning with Psalm 51 and verse 15. Yahweh sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Yahweh, open my lips that my mouth declare your praise. May the expressions of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, Yahweh, my rock and my redeemer. From Numbers 10, verse 10. Also in the day of your gladness, and in your appointed times, and in the beginnings of your months, you shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Kedushat Levanah, the sanctification of the new moon. O Yahweh, our Elohim, and Elohim of our fathers, make this coming month one of good and blessing. Grant us long life, a life of peace, of good, of blessing, of sustenance, of vigor, a life marked by a reverence for you and a dread of sin, a life free from shame and reproach, a life of prosperity and honor, a life in which love of the living Torah and the fear of Elohim animates us. A life in which our heartfelt desires are fulfilled for good. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Amen. He who performed miracles for our fathers and liberated them from slavery to freedom, may he quickly liberate us and gather our exiles from the four corners of the earth, and let us say, Amen. The new moon of the month of Adar I is today. May it prove to be good and fruitful for all 12 tribes of Yisrael. May the set apart one, blessed be he, grant this Rosh Chodesh to us and to all his people, for life and peace, for gladness and joy, for deliverance and consolation. And let us say, Amen, together. Blessed, praised, glorified, honored, and exalted be the name of the King of Kings, the set-apart one, blessed be he, who is the first and the last, and beside him there is no Elohim. Extol him in the heavens, Yahweh is his name, rejoice before his face, his name is honored beyond all blessing and praise. Blessed be his name, whose glorious kingdom is forever and ever. Let the name of Yahweh be blessed forever and ever. Amen. From Isaiah 66, verses 22 and 23. For as the new heavens and the new earth that I make stand before me, declares Yahweh, so your seed and your name shall stand. And it shall be that from Rosh Chodesh to Rosh Chodesh, and from Shabbat to Shabbat, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahweh. Amen. Amen. All right, you may be seated. All right, so today being Rosh Chodesh, I'm going to just give you a very brief point or two here because I have a few things I think would fit into Rosh Chodesh that have to do with the Torah portion. We'll wait for that in a minute. Well, let's remember the two main things that I talk about every single month when we turn the page into a new month. That these are markers in time, and because they're markers in time, we who live in a linear sort of flow of time have moments where we can look back and we can look forward. All right? And so, when we look back, I want you to be encouraged, not discouraged. Don't look at all of the fallings and failings and things you didn't get done. I want you to see that you actually made some progress. And you probably made at least some progress somewhere, a little bit here, a little bit there. And then after seeing that, look at the places where you struggled and redouble your efforts to go ahead and work on those areas. But first, look for, and by the way, whatever you look for, you find. That's just something you need to know as a fact. Whatever you look for, you find. You want to look for all the things that are wrong with something, you'll find them. You want to look for all the things that are right with something, you'll find them. Even the things that's horribly wrong has something right with it somewhere. And so I want you to figure out what you've done well over the last month. There's some things, even if it's a little thing, some things you've done better than the previous month, which is really what we're looking for, right? Growth, improvement. You know, if you improve just 1%, 100 times, it's 100%. So that means if you do just say you improve 10% a month, that's over 120% a year, okay? And so let's just look to those things, and then allow yourself to look at where you failed and struggled, and then figure out, maybe you need counsel to figure it out, but figure out why you still struggle. Why didn't you do better in those areas? And then put more effort into it. Be more committed towards it. And then I want you to look forward, remembering that you absolutely, 1,000,000%, can still go from where you are to where you've always wanted to be and where he wants you to be, which is the kingdom. He picked you, opened your eyes and your ears at this time. I don't want to say he picked you over everybody else. He picked you at this time because you can get there from here. Everybody else will get their chance who hasn't gotten their chance. We don't worry about those things. He picked you. When he picked you, he'll pick them when he picks them. There are those he picked before you were ever born, those he'll pick after you're gone. That's his thing and his timing. This is where we're putting the oxygen mask on ourselves first. Remember, he picked you right now with all that's going on in your life and in the world, because from here you can get there. And he also picked whatever percent chance this has to do with that. I mean, I don't know what percentage of this is, but he picked you at this time knowing that some of the things that are happening are going to actually help you get there. Some of the harder things, the challenging things, are part of your growth. So don't be like, oh, well, why didn't he call me at a time when we weren't having all of this, whatever's going on? In this case, lockdowns, COVID, and all this other stuff. Well, he could have called you during the plague in the early 1900s. He could have called you during some of the wars and horrors of the Middle Ages. He could have called you any time. But he called you at a time where the things that would help you get there are happening, and introduce you to people that you need to help you get there. And by the way, I'm not talking about the people that you like necessarily. They're going to help you get there by encouraging you and loving you. But the challenging people in your life are there because you need to be challenged, to bring out all those things that need to be kind of worked out. Don't be all excited only about the people in your life that you see as are positive, so to speak, quote unquote. Those negative people too are important for you to learn. Okay, it's important for you to learn. I had a situation the other day where somebody was very sort of harsh and strong to somebody else who was young. And I said, well, you know what? That probably wasn't the best way to talk to them, but they need to be able to handle that. If they never learn to handle it, because anytime it happens, someone goes and coddles them and enables the implosion that they do, they'll never gain the strength they need to deal in a world that's not his, in that harshness of the world. There's very little you could say to me, because of all the things I experienced in my life, that is going to cause that to happen in my life. Because you probably can't even think of things to say that have been said to me, okay? Growing up where I grew up and the things people said to each other. And so then you learn to let things roll off your back. And then you learn to handle things. Your skin gets a little bit thicker. Your heart gets a little bit softer. Because you have to have both of those. We got hard hearts and thin skin. We got it backwards. And so be thankful that you are called now. Yeah, but why didn't he call me when I was younger or this or that? Because he didn't. Because that's not the timing. Just because you can't see it that way is not his fault. It's your fault that you can't see it that way. He called you exactly at the right time. Okay? Whether you see it or not. He called you at the right time in your life, in the world's existence, in the people around you, all those things. You know, if he had called you just 10 or 15 years earlier, there wouldn't have been a congregation to move to, for those of you that moved here. This has only been around for 10 years. So see the timing. Because a lot of you, I know, struggled with trying to do this alone where you were, and now you can come here and you have all this. Well, this didn't exist if he called you 30 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever, right? And so everything's timing. So praise him for his timing. All your struggles, praise him, because that's part of what you needed. I know you can't see it necessarily, but that's what you needed. Every challenging situation and person in your life is helping you to grow. No, you think they're just being a pain in the whatever, you know, they're just, you know. Yes, they are. But you know what? But if you'd learn to be more selfless, they wouldn't hurt your feelings. You wouldn't walk around with you know what hurt all the time. And we're almost like getting softer cushions for the chairs because too many people in this congregation walk around with their butts hurt. Okay? I call the elder here, you know, in the morning when I first get up, and almost every day. So if I'm talking about you, probably, I'm not talking about what happened today necessarily, but almost every day he's telling me about how many people have their butts hurt already. Some of you online are freaking out. Oh, he said butt. You know what? If that messes you up, you've got really, really some challenges going in your life. Okay? If that's what's going to mess, see, they got their butt hurt because I said butt. It's ridiculous. It is. It's just ridiculous. But the thing is, all of us have to own that if that's you at times. And what that means is you had your feelings out there and they got stepped on and you react all upset over something that really you shouldn't have been upset about at all. Not that it was a desired thing, and maybe it was something that really, you know, wasn't desirable to you. So, but to get upset on the level that we get upset doesn't make any sense. It means we're not growing enough. You know, well, it's not fair, and this one did that, and how come I didn't even get invited to this, and what did this happen with that, and this person said this about me. I mean, I can go on and on to every possible thing you can imagine. And everybody's walking around, you know, all sore, like as if they all got spanked. You know, we have to grow up this month, right? New month. One of the things I want you to check on yourself when we get to the next one is we got Adar 1. It's almost like you get a redo. You get Adar 1, you get to do it again at Adar 2. But you by Adar 2 should have grown in these areas so that when you look back now, when we get to the next one, you go, okay, did I have a little bit less, you know, hypersensitivity to things? Have I grown in some maturity? The mechanics of this is not hard. Don't listen to all that Christian nonsense out there about, oh, the Torah is so hard, nobody can do it. That's all nonsense. There's nothing in the Torah that's hard to do. Period. There's nothing that is difficult to do. And it's not difficult to be on Saturday instead of Sunday, do the holy days instead of Christmas and Easter, eat a little differently. What is so hard? No, what's hard is growing up. That's the hard part. Growing into and transforming into a Yeshua-like person. Okay? That's the hard part. If you go back and listen to the teaching called Unity and Division in the Body, one of the first things I talked about were these paradigm shifts. And the one we are lacking is the last one, which is from, you know, a child to adult. You know, we made a shift when we realized, well, there is a God. Maybe that was a big revelation to you when you grew up and you didn't realize there really was a God. Then you realized that he had things that he wanted you to do and not do. Maybe then you realize that to do all those things that he expects you to become what's called Israel. These are all like shifts in the way you see everything. And you think you've arrived after 3 of them and you forget about the 4th one, which is we got to grow the bleep up. Okay? To be blunt. I don't think Yeshua's coming to marry a child bride, still wearing a diaper with a thumb in her mouth. Okay? She said that's against Torah. I agree. But I'm just saying it's the imagery I'm trying to get for you. Okay? You know, we behave in ways that we would expect out of a 5 or 6-year-old. But we're 55 or 56-year-olds or 35 and 36-year-olds, you know. It's like, at what point does it change? And so I want us to look each month at that aspect, okay? Sure, you want to see that you made the mechanics a little bit. Maybe you've been struggling with checking things to see if they're kosher or not. So now you're doing better than that. Maybe you weren't really watching everything you did or didn't do on Friday night to Saturday night on Shabbat. So now you're getting better at that. But more importantly, it's like when Yeshua says, weightier matters doesn't mean to leave the other ones undone. It just means there are ones that are weightier. More importantly, are we working on our growing, our maturing into full adult Israelites? That's the key, all right? So we don't lose our tempers, we don't get our feelings hurt, we don't become jealous and envious and all this other stuff that's just not mature behavior. And you know that. Just own it and decide, I'm not going to fix what I've been doing for 50 years in one month, but I'm going to hopefully be better in a month than I am now. And if I keep improving, I'll get there. All right? Don't expect to fix everything tomorrow, but work in that direction. And you may be surprised you do better than you thought you would. Maybe not all the way there, but you might get, be optimistic and really push at it. But you don't hit any goal in life without aiming at it. So every month I want to give you these ideas of targets to aim at. So this month I want us to really aim at how we're doing in our growing mature-wise. And the number one way to measure that is how you handle things emotionally. Okay? That's your number one measure of how you are in the growing in your maturity. How are you handling things in the emotional level? And the key to measure is how much are the emotions driving? Are they just responses that you've chosen to allow yourself to have because you made an intellectual decision, or are they just driving? And the intellectual part is just not even anywhere in sight. No rational, logical reason. You're just responding emotionally to things. And then everything that happens comes out of the emotional driver because you get triggered in some way. Probably all of you, I guess I'm just focused on these things because I go through these things myself. I study a ton about what makes us do what we do and don't do. And of course, one of the most famous people, Tony Robbins, just did a free thing online for the last week. And a lot of maybe you did that, maybe you didn't, but it just reaffirmed what I've been studying since I was about 14 years old, which is you have to feed that part of you on a regular basis. You eat food, you sleep, you do other things, but are you putting in, I study my Bible. That's great. You need to do that. What about studying how to fix your problem? Whether it's insecurities, depression, anger, PTSD, I don't care what it is, psychologically and emotionally. What are you doing to address that positive focus to grow up? To get to that, to become that type of person you need to become. So you might need to invest a little bit. I know a lot of you think, nothing about spending $100 on a ticket at Disney. And I think that's actually cheap. I think they're more than that at this point. Okay? You can go take your family to Disney. It's going to cost you $1,000 easy. No big deal. But you won't spend, $150 on a seminar or $30 on a book or something that actually might help you improve who you are. And that doesn't make any sense to me. And I spent a ton on that stuff, and it's been worth every penny. Now, some of them were better than others, but you know what? If you get just one thought or idea that changes your life a little bit, wasn't that worth the full price? Because some of you are thinking, if I don't get every page giving me something, then it wasn't worth it. No, I've gone through some pretty bad, useless books, but got one idea. Just one. I've watched somebody do a teaching and a whole seminar on some aspect of personality development or this or that or the other thing, but I got one aha. right? How much is a one aha that changes your whole life worth? Is it worth 25, 30 bucks, 100 bucks, whatever you would spend on some of these things? Now, if you don't want to waste your money, you could always ask me. I've probably sampled almost everything that's out there, and I can tell you which ones I think, at least, are better. But I can tell you they're worth every penny. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're worth every penny if you do what they teach you. They're not worth anything if you just go and said, oh, that was fun, and it was rah, 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 and then you go home and you forget everything they said. You don't apply. Same thing with the teachings I give you. I mean, everything I just said tonight, if you don't take it and use it, it's going to be of no use. So I get all these people saying, Rabbi, man, those teachings, they're just so great. And I talk to them and counsel them, and they're not growing at all because they're not doing anything I'm teaching them. They just think it sounded great, and they enjoyed it. And they keep thinking, maybe one day if I would just do that, well, what about today? What about now? Why not? See, what it takes is discipline. And I've taught you that in a couple of these other Rosh Chodeshes. You know, you want to be a disciple? Disciple is like 85% of the word of discipline or whatever. I mean, it's like one more letter. I mean, you just need to understand to be a disciple takes discipline. The ability to do what has to get done even if you don't want to do it. That's what discipline is. To do what you need to do even when you don't want to. It takes discipline to eat right. It takes discipline to go to the gym. It takes discipline to pray and to study. It takes discipline to show up every Saturday or on Tuesday nights. By the way, I'm really glad to see there's a lot more people out here tonight. Okay? But that's also maybe partly because of Rosh Chodesh. But the thing is, it takes discipline to do when you don't want to. Well, you know, I was home and you know, I'm already here and I'm tired. Or you could get your stuff together and show up here. Not that you have to, but if that's part of what it just takes discipline to do it, though. That's all. Doesn't take anything more than discipline. All right. So that's going to cover for that. Hopefully that's a blessing. Take this stuff and use it for the next month. Amen? All right, that worked out well because I was hoping to give myself till 8 o'clock, and we're just about there, so that's perfect. Okay, so we're going to get now into the Midrashic part of the evening. Okay, we're going to discuss the Torah portion. So let me get my notes out. I'm going to forget about it. Don't let me forget my phone, Billy. I'm going to put it over there. All right. So if you're online, we've got Shane and Grayson back there going to make sure to take care of getting your comments and questions over the mic. Over here, we got the microphone platform where you can come up to the podium there and you can ask questions, okay? There was something else I wanted to say. I see it in my little notes here, some of the emails we got. Two things. One of the question was, what's up with the title Nasi? Nasi is like the president over other leaders. That was what the person who ran the Sanhedrin was called. There was a bunch of leaders, and then there was one who had the authority as the director or the president of the group. So since we have a group of leaders, it's an appropriate term then for me for that. So just those people asking about that. The other thing is that if you're sending emails to us in general, and also the questions it is not the platform to argue or make your case or dump your teaching in our lap on the calendar or some other thing. Okay? If you do, I'm not going to get mad or anything. We're just going to ignore it. Okay? That's not the format. We have studied, listen, this is important. We have studied everything I teach, I have studied thoroughly. That doesn't mean I'm never wrong or never will ever be wrong. It simply means I've studied it thoroughly. So it means that you're probably not going to share with me something I have not already seen. I've been doing this more than 5 minutes, probably longer than whoever's sending me the email. That doesn't make me right by time. I'm just saying we are using the calendar that I go listen to. By the way, this is the thing I love. The person is writing all about all the stuff, and then at the bottom goes, well, I'm going to go check out this teaching next. Why'd you listen to the teachings that I have on a subject before you send me an email? Okay, you heard me say something about the calendar, about grace, or about salvation, or about whatever, the nature of the Godhead. Well, listen to the teaching first before making a comment, because all I'm going to do is send you back to it anyway if you didn't listen to it. And then if you disagree, we can talk about it. But at least listen to the teaching first. Doesn't that make more sense? Because then you know what I assume you understand some of the things I say because I assume you've already heard the teaching. So sometimes I don't have time to explain every detail every time I use a word like salvation or grace or this or that, because I already have a teaching that explains all that. And so if I use it in a way that sounds a little off to you, and maybe it is very different than the way you understand it, go listen to the teaching first so you know what I actually mean and why I believe it means that, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Just wanted to throw that out there because we have somebody that did send a long calendar email with lots and lots of verses and all this other stuff, okay? And trust me when I tell you I've studied the calendar out about as good as and thoroughly as anybody you can imagine, and I'm comfortable with my decision where it's at. And if you want to understand why I picked this calendar, we have a teaching called Making the Calendar Decision, which explains how I made the decision. It's not how you should, it just explains how I did it. Okay. I don't think there's anything else with that. Okay, so tonight we're going to be taking up an offering. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the name of the teaching, Terumah, offering. And it begins with them taking up a contribution, okay, in chapter 25. So we're going to go through 25 through almost the whole of 27. Try to keep this chronological. Let's try to keep it to the things that you can take and add into your own walk, into your life. What can you glean out of this? And there's a bunch of things. Almost all of it's in 25, from my opinion. Just a tiny bit in 26, because mostly they're talking then about all the materials that they're going to need to build and everything else. And I'm not going to explain to you why there's 20 of this or 6 of that or 20, whatever it is. We're not going to get into the gematria. So for all you teachers out there, preemptive striking is important. Stuff you don't want to deal with, and there's reasons why you don't, tell them up front, okay? We're not going to get distracted by trying to figure out why they use this type of material for this thing and why there was this many poles or hooks or whatever, okay? That's not for today. That doesn't mean it can't be done at some point. That's not for today, okay? So we're going to begin with chapter 25. We'll begin out here. We'll kick a few people out here, then we'll go to the live stream. We'll begin with Mr. Steve Waffle, Shamish Steve Waffle.
Okay, thank you. All righty, for 25, verse 1, in there it says, from everyone's hearts who's moved. And I just have a comment for that, because I know this was in taking up an offering, but I think we can apply this to everything that we have our heart moved on. And I think a lot of the problem is the heart may be moved, but we let our excuses get in the way rather than our heart. So we, rather than to seek the resolve of our heart, we let the excuses take over.
Amen. All right, let me just kind of deal with 25, and that was verse 2, not verse 1, but that's okay. All right, so let me deal with 25, that first section. Because remember I said there would be something during the Midrash that would be also kind of Rosh Chodesh related? All right, so it says, Yahweh spoke to Moshe, all right? And he said, speak to the children of Israel. So we know who's talking and who the subject is. That they take up a contribution from me. Okay, let's get this understanding. It is appropriate. We don't do that here, but it is appropriate at times to actually take up a contribution. Okay, now the way I've been inspired since I've been doing this is to let you know that there's a box. And then we still deal with the heart's moved thing. So it's kind of like we're taking up a contribution. We're just not, notice that Moses didn't walk around with a push key and then get everybody to put something in it. Or a giant wheelbarrow or something, right? I mean, he told them and they brought what they brought. So we do this model more, which we say, look, there's a box. There's buttons on our website, donations, etc. And then those whose hearts are moved. The key piece of this is that it's a contribution not for Moses. He says they're going to take up a contribution for me. So Yahweh's saying that. So now, how many pieces of all these things that people brought were actually handed to Yahweh? 0. Because anything that is to do his work that needs funding for or materials for, he will tell you it's for him. And then you do these things that are to be done. And so let's think about that when we look at our new moon and our new month. Some of you, I don't know the percentage. Some of you are thinking, oh, but don't you see what we donate? I don't pay any attention to what anybody puts in the box, okay? But some of you are not tithing. I don't care. Doesn't hurt me at all. But it may bother you and it may bother him, right? Some of you are not putting in your contribution. Some of you are not doing what you need to do. And by the way, would you see here in the contributions? The contribution was for that which was needed to complete the task. So if people had a material, because that's like verses 3 through 7, it talks about all the things that they brought, right? Purple and blue and scarlet and skins dyed with red and oil for light and spices and things like that. They brought all these things. They brought what was needed. If you happen to have something that what Abba's doing could use what you have, then you can use that as something you can bring. Maybe you got a piece of equipment that we need to use to do something, and you can bring that so that we can use it at least to do that one task. So it has to do with the contribution was for that which was needed to complete the task. So in this case, what's the task? What are they building? The Mishkan. Okay, they're building the tabernacle in the wilderness. So they needed what's needed to build that. And he tells them, I need wood for this, and gold for that, and silver for this, and all these other materials, these kinds of linens and cloths and dyes and all this other stuff. All right. That's for that task. Then he has another task for you, not in this particular Torah portion, where he talks about the tithing system. What's the task there? To support those doing the work. So they don't have an inheritance otherwise, so they don't have a distraction trying to create an inheritance, and they can have a life of function, right, where they have food and clothing and shelter and all those things that you would need to be able to do while serving the body, while serving him and serving the body. That's a different task. Because I know a lot of people get hung up on things like, well, you know, there's no Levites anymore. That's true. But that task doesn't exist either anymore. We don't need anybody serving in the temple. There's no temple. But you have people that are serving the body, the Torah teachers, the Melchizedekians. This is what you see Moses and the 70 doing, not Aaron and his sons doing. You see there's a separation, a differentiation between those two ministries and how ministry means they were serving the needs of the people. They were ministering to the people in different ways. The Levitical side of it and the Melchizedekian side of it, which is the Moses side of it, the Torah teachers. And so that's a different task that may need funding. You may decide you want to do that. You may want to help in some way. It's funny, I think that some of you out there would like it better if I basically put something on the screen and said, we need to buy this piece of equipment, and then have somebody just buy it, and then they would give money for that. But they wouldn't just put general money in the boxes. Then I got to trust that, Rabbi, whoever's going to do the right thing with the money. As if you know what the right thing is to do with it anyway. And I'm not saying that in a condescending way. I know it came across that way because that's you're judging in some way that as if you understand from where you are what you can only understand on the other side of it. And I'm telling you, unless you ever received money out of a box, you have no idea what it's like to be living at basically the generosity and the obedience of the people. See, you guys have all taken jobs in your lives that either had a commission structure or a salary structure where you knew what you were getting paid, you knew what you had to do to get paid. And then if you come into this, you never know if you're going to get paid. You don't know. The box can be empty from now on, and I can't change that or force that or anything else. I never know what's going to be in the box. And so that's a whole different way of approaching it, isn't it? And so Abba wants us all to walk out in faith. So understand that this is that everyone would then come and they would give according to as their heart was moved and take up the contribution. As their heart was moved. Now, was it their heart being moved towards Moshe? No. It was as they felt towards him, towards Yahweh. Because they're giving it to Yahweh. If you ever, just putting this out there, if you ever are thinking that what you give is going to me and not going to him, then you got it all wrong. Unless you are personally wanting to bless me, which sometimes people will say, here's a little something, I want you and wife to go out and have something. That's different. I'm saying, but when you're doing these things, right? you're giving it. Tithing, you're giving it to him. Offerings, you're giving it to him because you're expressing how much you appreciate his blessings. Stop worrying about the other part of it. Well, what if you're using it wrong and this and that and the other? That's my problem, and he'll take care of that. And if you're really that concerned about it, then you're in the wrong ministry. Go find a ministry that you can trust and give them the money. You know, I've said this in the past, and I guess it's worth saying again just on the timing of this. This portion doesn't cover this necessarily. But do you understand, because sometimes people are wondering, well, what do you do with it? Every penny that comes into this ministry is mine. I'm not saying that in ego or pride, which means that all the cameras, I paid for. All the building rentals, properties we bought, people we help, all the benevolence is coming out of my pocket. So if you're wondering, well, what's going on with the money? Everything you see this ministry do is me. Do you understand that? That's not bragging. I'm just giving you the right perspective. Because some of you are thinking, well, I don't know, what is he doing with all this stuff? Don't you see? If you're here, we've got probably $20,000 in equipment, at least, just in cameras. Just so that we can provide this. And I didn't have to buy fancy cameras. Well, yeah, no, but Yahweh gave the money for that. No, he gave the money to me. Read the scriptures. Okay? There's not a single verse that says you're giving the money to the priest to take care of the people. Third tithe being the exception, right? It was for the priest. And there's actually verses that say, and it all is theirs. So if you want to know where my heart's at, look at where the money goes. It goes to things I don't have to do. And so I'm just saying to help you get the right perspective on these things. You're giving it to him, and everything you see that we do is the way he's inspired me to spend what he's given me fiduciary responsibility over. Okay? And so this is really important that maybe it will change the way you approach this. Now, the last thing I want to say on this is anything, and by the way, you're talking to a ministry that counsels a lot of people on their finances. That's part of what we do, right? Elder Billy's trained in that, I'm trained in that, and we do help people with their finances. I can promise you, the number one thing killing your finances is your not willingness to submit to giving. Your unwillingness, I should say. Use proper English here. Okay, you're unwilling to do your tithing and your offerings. And you wonder why I'm telling you, your finances are all jacked up because of that. Go talk to anybody out there who's doing this that will tell you that their finances dramatically improved when they started being obedient. Period. Okay? Oh, some of you got that little voice in your head. Oh, he's just trying to get more money out of me. All right, look. Okay? Listen. Without any... I know this is going to mess a whole bunch of people up. But when you think about it, any ministry with a staff and with properties and everything else is going to run hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to make all that happen. Don't think that your little whatever you're going to put in the box is going to make all that much difference. Okay, Abba supports this through the abundance of who he inspires with thousands of people in their little ways and bigger ways, but your little, well, you know, he's just trying to get more money out of me. I don't care. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He owns all the gold and the silver. He owns everything. All right? I'm going to quote Gamaliel, which in a strange way, when he's in the New Testament, talked about when they asked him about Messiah. And what did he say? He said, look, if he's the Messiah, there's nothing we can do about it. And if he's not, God will take care of it. That's basically what he said. I'm paraphrasing. Guess what? If Yahweh wants this ministry to function and go forward, he will make sure it happens. If he doesn't, he won't. And your giving will not change that. Or your not giving will not change that. He simply will find some other way to do it. And so it's not, I never think, at least from my mouth, that I'm trying to get in your pocket. I just know that you're cutting your own financial throat. I know this from my own life. From the way, before I was in ministry and when I was in where you are. And you don't believe it because it doesn't make sense. How could giving more money? How can I can't live on 100%. How am I going to live on 90% or 80% or 70%? It'll be cool to see it, won't it? And it is cool. And it doesn't make any sense. But it's cool. And you won't never know that. You won't ever experience that if you won't try it. All right? You just won't. There's a lady in the congregation, and she's probably one of the ones that goes back further than any of you from the very beginning. And she never had a huge income or anything else. And she's been tithing 30 years, 40 years, okay? She learned this very early in life. And she said she knows that there's no way she'd ever have made it this well in her whole life, to always have just enough if she hadn't done that. That's what she told me. That was her testimony. And even when it was just a little bit, because she was working part-time somewhere and she would come and give her a little bit, I'm going to give my tithe. Because she was convinced that's the only reason why her and her husband always had enough. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. She was certainly convinced. But you know what? I got a bunch of people in this room that are also convinced. But there's also a bunch of you that still aren't convinced. The only way to be convinced is to try it. I shouldn't even say try it. Just do it, because he told you to. Why aren't you trusting? Yeah, but I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. Look, go back to the tithing teaching where I told you it's going to expose one of two things. Either it's going to, if you have a problem with it, it's going to expose either a selfishness problem or a financial, you actually have a finance problem. If you can't tithe and pay your bills, you don't make enough money. You don't. You need to fix that or fix your bills. Something is wrong. Yahweh designed it that you could live off of 70%. That's the way he designed it. And you can't even live on 100%. So something is wrong in that equation. You're either spending too much or not making enough. Oh, but don't but me, okay? Stop that. And today, there's so much available work. There's no excuse for any of that nonsense. And don't tell me that you're working unless, you got 2 jobs? Do you have 3 jobs? What are you doing? Oh, but Rabbi, what do you mean by Rabbi? Fix your problem. I don't have to work more than 40 hours a week. I don't even have to work 40 hours a week, and I can live just fine. And I work 100 at least. Okay? I don't get paid any more. I get a salary. I don't get extra money for working more hours or less hours. But I work pretty much 7 days a week. Unless I'm dealing with my family and making sure they get their time and eating and sleeping, I'm doing this. And some of you thinking, Rabbi, you have this lifestyle at this point. I earned it. I work hard for it. Okay? And not from you, from him. Okay? He is rewarding that effort. He put me here to do ministry. He wouldn't pay me if I worked 20 hours a week and just took whatever's in the box and just, whatever. He pays me well because I work relentlessly. Okay? I've got staff members that are here Saturday night look at me like, are you ever going to be done? I said, as soon as people stop needing me. Okay? And I stay till the last person's done. Every week. After starting early in the morning, going all day. Every day of the week if necessary. That's not bragging. I'm 58 years old. What are you doing? Okay? You can fix this, and you can do it. He says, 6 days you shall work. Some of you are not working 6 days. What are you doing with that extra day? Well, you're spending money and goofing off. Well, make some money. I don't know what else to tell you. Okay? He expects us to be industrious, to put in the effort. This isn't one of those things you become a believer and then just diamonds and gold falls into your lap. And all your problems just disappear. Everything, you know how that all works out? Because you change and you become more. What did Yeshua say? Yeshua said, my Father works, and so do I. And so do I. So what does that say about you? I had a person complaining about that one time who was in the medical industry. And I said, well, what do you work right now? I work 4 12s. I said, 4/12s and you're broke or whatever? What are we doing with the other 2 days? Oh, well, you know, I got stuff around the house. Well, come on. You're working 4/12s. You got 2 days available to you. Matter of fact, I bet you where you work, if you wanted to, you could pick up an extra day and make double time or overtime, whatever. Oh, but I already worked 12 hours. 12 hours? Then you're missing like half a shift somewhere. 12 hours. And I'm just trying to inspire you. I'm not picking on you. Don't you know how good it would feel if you could go someplace? How good would it feel if you would go out to dinner and you could, without any hesitation, pick up the check for everybody? Because it wouldn't bother your income at all. Wouldn't that be great? Or are you the one that goes hoping someone will offer to take yours? I can't tell you how embarrassing it is, how many people come to eat with me and they're hoping I'm going to pick up the check. And I'm the rabbi. Now, I don't want anybody to take up my check. Sometimes they do, but I never expect that. I can take care of my own. But it shocks me that people think I'm going to take care of theirs. It's just mind-blowing, you know? Because I'll tell people, hey, would you like to go out, like you want to come out and eat? They always think if I'm inviting them, I'm going to pay for it. I said, no, I figured you want to spend time with me. We can go eat. And then the waitress will come around, a waiter will come around saying, okay, is this all one check, whatever? And I see the hopeful look on people's faces. And then I go, no. You know, and they look. This really does happen, by the way. Not recently, so I don't want anybody to think I'm talking about them, but it happens, okay? Not in a little while, but it's happened way too many times. It's shocking. All right? Anyway, that was a long-winded way to say that what Abba's trying to give you at the beginning of this chapter is a heart and mindset towards giving him. Okay? And you know that it's not in this chapter, but we're going to get to a place when they take up a contribution that they actually have to say we have too much. Could you imagine? I can't at this point. But you know what? If everybody out there and here, everybody that actually is a part of this ministry, everybody that actually is fed by what comes from this microphone, if they actually tithe, we'd have more than we need. We'd almost have too much, if you can understand what that would be. That's no doubt. If everybody tithed and made their offerings as required, we wouldn't know what to do with all of it. If you think about it. But they don't. This congregation, I'm not picking on it. It has nothing to do because I'll have people that are, richer or poorer in the whatever. Even as big as this congregation is, it's probably just now almost at 200 plus people, big enough to support a full-time rabbi or pastor. After all those years. Most congregations out there are under 100 people, and there's no way they can afford to pay an actual, even minimally reasonable salary to somebody. Because as a congregation, they're not bringing in enough to do that. And it's a mindset thing. You know, it's funny. You guys okay with all these stories? All right. When I first started doing this in 1999, 2000, around that time, and we had a congregation in Knoxville, we decided, somebody kept pushing about having like a finance committee or board or some other thing, and I don't like to do all those things because that's all human beings wanting to meddle with stuff that they don't need to meddle in. And so I said, fine, we'll have a little meeting with some of the leader men, women, and whatever, have the families that are kind of core, and I'll answer all their questions, and we'll talk about the finances, whatever they want to know. All right? And so one of the questions that came up was, how much do you, now bear in mind, this is a ministry at the time that wasn't paying me anything, wasn't making anything, right? We probably lost money the first year and two. This is right at the beginning. Said, well, how much do you hope to make or were you expecting to make as a salary? I said, you know what? At some point, remember, I'm just brand new married at this point, no kids. Living in Tennessee where it's, reasonably cost effective to live. Not so much as it is now, but it was much cheaper back in 20 years ago. All right? I said, well, I'm hoping at some point to make about $40,000 a year. I thought that was a good, conservative, not affluent number for just a couple to make. And I also said, and I don't expect to make any of it from the ministry here locally. I expected it to come from the people outside, like MTOI has now. We had a ministry back then called Follow the Pattern Ministry, which, by the way, comes from this Torah portion. From Exodus 25:9, which is what we didn't get to yet because I'm talking too much. And so, but that ministry was audio tapes at the time, going out and being mailed out, etc. People sent in tithes and offerings. And I thought that at some point, because the local congregation had 30, 40 people in it, and I was lucky if there was $100 in the box each week, which was mostly going to pay the rent on using the room for that week. Not to mention the tapes and the books that we put out there that people took, that we usually lost money each week. And so to have even a local congregation support a ministry person, none of the congregations affiliated with MTOI can support a local ministry person. So all of you out there, if you're like that, are you tithing? Are you supporting that ministry? We don't have a single congregation other than this one that has anybody full-time. And that's not picking on anybody. Mostly it's because they're too small. Even if they are tithing, there's only 15, 20 people there, of which some of them are children, and how many people are actually working to support that? All right? But we should be praying about that. You know what? If all the tithes and offerings came here, that should, from all of you outside people that don't have a congregation, we could support putting a congregation where you are. Even though locally you could never afford to do that because there wouldn't be enough people. Just think about it. If that overflow of abundance was actually here, I promise you that's what we would do with it. Ask any of the leadership. We talk about this all the time. Everybody out there needs a full-time ministry person to be available to them where they are. And it seems to me the only way that's going to happen now is if the warehouse or the storehouse that this is gets enough, we could actually support that. Because otherwise they'll never do it. Because you can't do it when you can't pay to feed your family and you got to work a full-time job. And then you can't really service the community if you have a full-time job. I don't mean a full-time job doing this. I mean if you have a secular job. I don't know how they do it. I'm very impressed with them. I've been blessed. I've never had to do anything while doing this. Okay? My wife made a decent living when we first started, so she supported what we were doing. And then when we started it again 10 years ago, we basically had 100 people almost the first week, and they were putting basically just barely enough in the box between her making what she was making and me to have a decent enough living. And so I don't know how anybody does this and works a job. I talked to Shane. Didn't know how you did that, buddy. Okay, I talked to all the other leaders who had congregations and had full-time jobs. I don't know how you do it. And then people complain that they're not getting serviced. Well, how can they? These people have jobs. You know. But here, that's one of the reasons to move here. Here you can walk in and have an appointment and walk in and have a meeting any day, any time as you need to have. We'll make time for you. There's actually people here you can meet with. And so that's an advantage. But you know why that's possible? Because you guys actually do the contributions. If you don't do the contributions, I would have to have a job. Well, a different job. And I wouldn't really mind, by the way, because I'd work a whole lot less. I'm not kidding. It'd be like a vacation. Doing anything else. Even two anything else's. Would be less. But that's only possible because you guys support it, right? But you're not supporting me. This is not a ministry to say, we want to thank you for your support. No, you're supporting him, and he's given me to you. Ooh, that's a different way to think of it, all right? All right, you support him, and he provides you with myself, Elder Billy, Rabbi Tom. We're all here on staff to serve you. Okay? And I got to tell you, this man over here, Elder Billy, he's doing everything he can to try to keep up and do the pace that I do. And so I'm really proud of him, and he's got the right makeup to understand this is a life, it's not a job. All right? And Rabbi Tom, as much of his health issues that he has and being older and everything else, that man will come straight from the hospital to work if they let him out. There's nothing that would keep him from showing up to work unless it literally would be that he can't get here. Okay? That's what you need to know, that Abba's given you. Okay? There's times I've had to say to him, no, stay home. I'm coming in. He's called me from the hospital to tell me I'll be at work on Tuesday. I'll be on work. I'm like, but you're just getting out. Oh, no, I'll be there. Because he loves serving you guys. Okay? All right? And it's not about the money, because I pay him anyway. So if he came in or not, he comes in because he loves serving you guys. All right? And so that's what you have here. That's what Abba's blessing you with for blessing him back, or giving and supporting with your contributions. And so you need to know that. Okay? And what a blessing it is to the team that you set together, because Elder Billy likes talking to people, so he handles a lot of the calls and everything, and Rabbi Tom loves answering emails, which I don't like doing either of those things, so there you go. I like, after that's all sifted through, to give me the person with their issue and let me help fix their issue. Okay? And so between those two, they get through a lot of the noise so that we get down to the issue, and then they bring me in to handle the issue. So it's a great teamwork. All right? And so you should be real excited about that, because, you know, that team was placed here for you and supported because you put the offerings and the tithes. Okay? And then I take from what you give me, when you give him, that I get, and I pay them. Okay? To make sure that you have all that. And so out of that, going forward, is we're building our own version of what's needed in the body right now. We don't need a temple, but we need a feast site. We need a yeshiva. We need a bigger building to meet in before we outgrow this, and we're almost there with 250 people in the congregation. And so that's where all of that's going to go. We're going to be breaking ground here in the next month or two, whenever we're waiting on some things with the civil engineers, but as soon as that's all done, we're going to be breaking ground, and that building and thing will hopefully be ready by next Passover in a year. Okay? And it's only because you need it, and so you've been inspired to support it. Okay? Notice that we never take up fundraising drives for these things. Okay? And we could. Moses did. He took up a contribution to build a temple, the tabernacle. I certainly would be able to do the same thing. I'd rather give you little speeches like this and inspire you, so your hearts are moved, and you can decide to send in. And by the way, you don't even have to earmark it for like the building fund, although you could, because whatever I need, I'll take out of the general to use for anything anyway. If it's needed in benevolence, if it's needed in the building, whatever we need extra will come out of the general fund. So just, you can send it there, it's fine. But if you want to put it to the building fund, do it. And it will go towards what we're building. And so bear in mind that those are things, though, that if you're doing them, that are different than your tithes. Tithes go right to the general fund and will be used where needed. Offerings you can earmark to something. Don't earmark your tithe. Do you understand that? Just send your tithe in. You want to give a special offering for something specific, you can say, this is for sponsoring somebody to go to a feast. This is for the building fund. This is to buy the Torah scroll you want to buy. This is for, you can put it for something specific. But that should only be your offerings. All right. I know that was a lot to say, because I think that we're missing the mark a lot on this money thing. And I'm very reluctant to talk about it on a regular basis, because it feels like when I was sitting where you are, and I used to hear all those sermons, just always, it felt like they're always trying to just reach in my pocket all the time. I didn't like it any more than you do. I'm just trying to give you a whole way of seeing it that's scripturally correct. Because they always made it sound like they needed. Didn't they? Have you ever heard those? Doesn't it always sound like the churches need something? We're not going to pay our bills, or we're not going to be able to do this, we're not going to reach all these people, whatever. And I never wanted you to hear that out of my mouth. I want you to understand you need this. And what you do will benefit you, because you need this stuff. And the more that's there, the more I can do the things that will benefit you. That's the thing you need to know. All right? All right, Ashley.
Hello, Rabbi. May I make a comment before I ask my question?
Sure.
I just wanted to put a twist on what you said for a second. Let's say Yahweh never commanded us to tithe. I believe in tithing, so don't shoot me for a second. Let's say we were never commanded to tithe, never commanded to offer, but yet we want your services and we want your counseling and we want to be able to see it on live stream. We want to be able to do this. We should still do it just because we want to be able to have those services, and that's a way to say thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But the bottom line is, if Yahweh didn't make you do it, most people wouldn't do it. They just wouldn't. We are generally selfish and cheap.
So all those times, and I don't mean to put myself on a pedestal or anything like that, but all those times when I couldn't even afford to even tithe, I was still tithing $5, $10 just for a counseling session. Like, it baffles my mind that people don't.
Actually, I remember that. You would just put something in, even though it was not required. You just say, you know what, let me kind of take this is really good that you just said this. The Hebraic, well, let's just say the Jewish mindset. We'll go with the Jewish mindset. Because almost none of you are Jewish, so you don't know this stuff. So let me tell you from a Jew. The Jewish mindset is that the Jewish families would have what's called a tzedakah box in the house.
The what?
A tzedakah box. Okay, tzedakah is the Hebrew for charity. All right? And each individual may have their own. And what they did with that was before they would ever seek charity from above, in other words, to entreat the Almighty for something, they always put something in the box. Not to pay him off, but to basically say, I'm willing to help others before I'm going to ask you to help me. I'm going to do something that I know when I donate it to where it goes will help somebody else before I'm asking for anything for myself. And that's the way their mindset was. Before I shouldn't even ask him for anything if I'm not willing to offer and help somebody else first. Why should you give me help if I'm not helping anybody? And we can't do it this way, or at least we certainly shouldn't, because I think it would really be problematic. But you know what? It's amazing. I don't know how many, I don't ask, but I bet you there's a lot of people that call here on a regular basis, don't ever send anything in the box, don't ever mail anything in. There used to be a thing with American Express where I said membership has its privileges. Well, if you're a member of the body, you get privileges like counsel, all right? Benevolence when you need it, all these other things. But those are privileges that come from being part of this thing called covenant, which has obligations in both directions. And why should you expect to get when you're not giving what you're supposed to give? I'm not even just talking about the money part. You don't show up, but you call and always want help. You don't contribute in any way to help anybody else. You don't show up when people need people to help unbox something or move something or do this or to stand out and in the kitchen and help when we're doing kitchen, whatever it is. But you want. And you're very quick to call us when there's a need, but what are you giving? And I almost feel like saying to some people, I said, look, I'm sorry. Call me back when you're actually ready to be a part of this instead of just wanting, taking. All right? And I'm saying that not because we would ever do that. I want you to look inside and think, are you that person? Why do you expect? And some of you will whine and complain that you're not getting enough out of the ministry. Well, I tried to call and you didn't answer the phone. It's like, but you never do anything. And that's not why I didn't answer your call, by the way. But why are you whining when you don't do anything to contribute from your side of it? And I promise you, we do not ever decide to help or not help anybody by anything other than their need. Okay? Now, some people get helped a little bit more than others because their need is bigger. So they get up. It's like triage in a hospital, right? You have to figure out who's got the most bleeding going on. They got to fix that first. And the people that can wait, of course, they're the ones with the least patience, though. Some of the ones with the biggest bleeding are the most patient, and they're just willing to sit there and bleed out and just get the help. Other people have a little scratch that's not even like bleeding, and they're screaming at you every day, all day long for help. They have no patience. But just realize that, you should ask the question. And it's not just about the money part. Do you come and help in any way? What do you bring as an offering? And by the way, I don't want you to think about it has to be some major thing. I promise you, your being here, okay, and being warm and friendly affects everybody. And some people more than others who may actually meet you and become friends with you and appreciate interacting with you. But when you're not here, there's a vacuum there's this emptiness that you're not there. What you would have brought was missing. So it doesn't mean you have to, maybe you're in a physical condition where you can't do a lot of physical things, but you can sit and talk to somebody or listen and smile, give somebody a hug or whatever. All of that stuff is invaluable. So it's not just money. There's a lot of things that money can't buy. Okay? You can't fill it with money, you can't fix it with money, but you can fix it with being there for somebody. And then you stay home selfishly, you don't show up, and you just whine and complain on the phone to us all the time. I'm just own it and fix it. And don't be, see, some of you are thinking now, I'm so ashamed and so embarrassed that now I can't even show my face there. Then you're not listening. You're totally missing the point. We're prodigal son model people. Any one of you that's like the prodigal son out there will be welcomed with open arms and jumping for joy and not caring whatever you did before you showed back up. Just show up and say, from now on, I'm going to be participating. When I'm able to participate, I'm going to come if I'm able. All right? You can clap for that. Because some of you I know are thinking, oh, I'm going to show up, and they know that I've been just out here. We're happy when you show up, no matter what you were doing before. And we're optimistically and hopeful, right? We're optimistic and hopeful that going forward now, you're going to find that growth and that love and that warmth and everything else that you get from helping and giving. It's not just words. You get so much more from giving than from getting. Okay? Period. There's not a person out there teaching anything in life, whether it's a ministry or just motivational, that don't say the same thing. You always get more out of giving than out of getting. Anytime my life wasn't really going the way I needed to be, I always said, what more can I give? I'm not giving enough. When our finances in the beginning, I told you they were really bad. So I gave more stuff away. My wife looked at me like, why are you giving more stuff away? I said, because that's what you do to get more. He's going to give me more if I give more away so I can give more. So I gave away more tapes and more this and more stuff. And you don't know how it's going to come back. In what way? It always does. You know, we used to have a table on Shabbat that had tapes, Bibles, like the scriptures, the softcover scriptures, hardcover scriptures, a couple other books like Come Out of Her, My People, and some of those other books about, coming out of Babylon. And they were all free on Shabbat. People say, well, what's the suggested offering? There isn't one. Just, if you want to put an offering, go ahead. If you don't. It's all here for you. Okay? And they took them. We gave away more Bibles than we ever sold. And that's how I know we didn't make money most months, because Bibles were like $20 a piece, and we gave away 20 of them. That's, is more than we were bringing in. Just, So I was putting a lot of it out of my own pocket. And yet, I gave away more, and more would come in. And I gave away more, and more would come in. Anytime I hesitated about putting stuff out, things would get worse. Just give it away, give it away, give it away. All right? And that's the important thing. You have to know. You can't. When we used to go to a conference, I told the story many times. I went to a conference, and we had the tapes, and people come up to the booth, and I would say, like, they're $1 a piece or whatever for the tape. We charged very little for them. And so somebody would grab 4 or 5 tapes, and they'd be asking me about the teachings. I said, actually, if you have that, well, you need this one too, and this one too, and this one too. The person's like, but I'm not going to buy all those. That's okay. Just take them. You need them. When I went on our journey for those 7 years and needed to come back and start again, long story, but when he brought me back into this, I didn't know where I was going to start teaching. So I called a good friend of mine, and he said, well, let me talk to the leader of the congregation that we have, and maybe he'll let you come and start speaking again. And it turned out that the leader of the congregation was the guy I handed 20 extra tapes for free. And he remembered. I didn't remember until he told me about it. I mean, I knew it was something that I do. But see, how would I know that 10 years earlier, I'd given this guy a whole bunch of tapes for free would get me the beginning relaunching of the ministry?
And look at you now.
Yeah, okay. So this is all because of giving, though. So you get something back. It took 10 years to get it back. I wasn't keeping track, you know, or expecting anything. But see, you do, and that's when you get all messed up. All right? Plus, you want to reap what you sowed. So I gave away tapes. What, someone's going to give me back tapes? I'm going to sit around waiting for someone to give me tapes or money? No, I got a teaching opportunity and a door that opened. It's what I needed. He needed tapes. So you give what someone needs, you'll get what you need. It may not be the same thing. All right? You give them what they need, and you'll get what you need. Abba will make sure that that thing works back and forth. Okay? And so maybe they don't need money. Maybe they need to sit there and listen to them, whoever it is you're there with. So give them what they need. And whatever you need will come. That's the way he structures it. All right, Ashley.
You are such a blessing. On verse 8, they shall make me a set-apart place, and I shall dwell in their midst. So I understand going forward, what is exactly dwelling in their midst?
Okay, so this is the key verse that started the other ministry, the Follow the Pattern Ministries, okay? So 8 and 9, it says, okay, so they're going to use all these materials to build me a place. So it's like, think of it like a home. What do we call a home? A dwelling, right? It's a place where you live, where you reside. So he says, I will live with them. I will reside in their midst, in this place that you're building. Okay, because that's another word that we use for a home is a dwelling. What do you do in a dwelling? You dwell. Okay? And so he says here, they're going to make me this set-apart place, and I shall dwell there in their midst in this set-apart place. Midst, inside, in the middle of them, in the midst of them. Okay? All right. And then he says in verse 9, which is really the key verse for the ministry that we did, was, and then you're going to do these things according to the pattern and follow that pattern exactly according to what I showed you on the mountain. Okay? It says, according to all that I show you, the pattern of the dwelling place and the pattern of all its furnishings, make it exactly so. Details matter. At least to him they do. You can't just do what he tells you any which way you want. You got to do it the way he intended it. He said, keep the Sabbath day. You know what he also said? How to do it. He didn't just say, keep the Sabbath day and do whatever you want with it. And so details matter. He said, do everything according to the pattern that I showed you where? On Sinai, on the mountain. Now, this is one of two things, probably both to whatever degree. He actually had them in a vision see the heavenly tabernacle, so they could Moses actually saw what it looked like. But also, I believe he gave them the blueprints, and that may have been what was on the flip side of the tablets, because the tablets were written on both sides. There may have actually been a blueprint, architectural designs and everything on the back of the tablets. After all, he said, I gave it to you on the mountain. And the tablets did not need to be written on both sides to write the 10 words. Could have fit them in just a small part of any tablet. They're not like written so huge like you see in the movies, 5 on one and 5 on the other, and that's it. But they were written, it says, on both sides. So now, he says, I'm going to make a dwelling place. This is back for you, the idea of dwelling. So he is going to dwell with them. 1 Corinthians 6:19, it says, and do you not know that you are the dwelling place? Okay, so if you are now the dwelling place, then shouldn't you build your dwelling place exactly according to the pattern given on the mountain? Amen? All right? And that whole teaching is called Follow the Pattern Exactly. You can listen to the teaching. All right? That was the teaching that explained where that ministry came from. And it came out of this week's Torah portion that many years ago when I was doing the teaching on this portion, and I realized that connection between Exodus 25:9 and 1 Corinthians 6:19. And that launched what I called Follow the Pattern Ministries. That we were going to be a people that followed the pattern shown on the mountain and follow it exactly. Still a good name for a group, a ministry. All right? All right. Shannon. And then from Shannon, we'll go to the live stream.
This is only just a comment. Something I noticed for the first time when he gave him the blueprints to make the dwelling place. I realized that, he didn't make the dwelling place just appear, like he brought him to the wilderness and like, welcome to the tabernacle. No, he he didn't just hand it to them, but they had to build it themselves. They had to give their own things to make it. And I can't imagine how much time it took, the hard work and the effort, but also the teamwork. Like they had to work together to make this happen, and just wonder.
Fantastic. That was a fantastic connection. All right. So everybody contributed something. Then they all had to work together to make the things. Okay? And they had to do the effort themselves. He didn't just say, give me this pile of stuff, and then poof, it's now a tabernacle. And you didn't really say this, but I'll add this little extra piece to it. And they had to take what was given, and they had to make it into the individual parts, which means that you have to be molded and worked on. And that's what it talks about, being the clay in the potter's hand and all those kind of things, because they provided the cloth, but the cloth had to be cut and fashioned a certain way, and there had to be dye applied to it and things. And they gave them the earrings and all this other gold, and had to be smelted and then made and formed into the hooks and the rings and the other things that they used, right? So there's a lot, and some of it was made out of, as part of the Torah portion here, out of beaten gold. And so we could talk about that if I didn't already kill all the time talking about other things. Okay, live stream.
Only 2 questions. From Sarah, first one being from Sarah Finno, chapter 25, verse 31. And about the menorah, are we okay to use a menorah? If yes, when it is appropriate to use?
Okay, so a menorah is 7 branches, not 9. That's called a Hanukkah, all right? There is no prohibition on people using a menorah. So we look at positive commands and negative commands. Positive ones are do's, negative ones are don'ts. Okay? There's a do to make this particular one to be used in the Mishkan, in the Holy of Holies. I mean, in the temple, in the tabernacle. That doesn't say anywhere that you can't have one somewhere that you can use. Okay, so certainly you can use one. All right? They're hard to find, though. Everywhere you go, they're making 9-branch ones, not 7. Because most of the Jewish community buys the Hanukkahs. They're not going to do the 7. So it's harder to find one. And then find one that doesn't have like a Christian symbol on it or a fish on it. That's harder even than that. I found this really great one, then I realized it's got a fish on it or some other thing. Okay? Next question.
Last question from MTOI Philippines Jet. Rabbi, in the process of finding our Beth Shalom, should we consider all the instructions we read today and apply it? Of course, your advice matters the most, but this might come up here locally. Shalom.
Wait, say it one more time.
Rabbi, in the process of finding our Beth Shalom, should we consider all the instructions we read today and apply it? Of course, your advice matters the most, but this might come up here locally. Shalom.
Okay, so the only thing that would apply out of today would be the contribution. Okay, you're not going to need the materials to build one that's described here. Now, if you're going to build your own building, then let them know what you need to build your own building. Then you may need wood and nails and other things, whatever you need, right? So you can ask people to donate or those things. So the model here you could certainly do, I suppose, but not the literal part of it, because they needed very specific materials to do the things they were going to do that you would not necessarily need, to build the one you may want to build. Okay. Janet.
I have a quick comment. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a question. All right. So I was just thinking about what you were saying about the tithe and the offerings and the contributions. And probably a lot of people here did that when they were at the church. We would be used to be, we would tithe all the time. We did that for years, and we always never, ever had any lack. We never had any lack, really. But it's really about that, about, doing what he says. But then we switched, and then we were told by a Messianic congregation that we were not supposed to tithe. That wasn't in the Torah. So we stopped for like a few months, but we were so uncomfortable, and we still wanted to give because we've been used to giving for so many years. And then we came here, and then we found out that the way to tithe was 3 tithes, and you told us, come this as your first year, and then so we just finished our 3rd year for the third tithe. And I was very inspired because Rabbi Tom, one time he was doing, I don't know if it was a Torah study or a Shabbat, but he started talking about offerings. And I wasn't really giving, I mean, it was every now and then I was giving offerings, but I wasn't doing it regularly. And I just wanted to say that ever since I started with your counsel, my practice started to grow really nice. But then after I started to do the contributions, it was like an explosion. It's just amazing how generous our Father is. And so I just don't understand how some people don't do that regularly. I don't understand why, because it works. I mean, it just works. You know, it just trust the process, give it with generous heart, and He will bless you tremendously. So I just wanted to comment that.
Amen. Amen. I think it bears saying something, though. Some of you are thinking, well, if I had money, I could do it. Well, no, you're never going to have any money if you don't do it. Okay? I wish I could bring the people up here to give the testimonies of how they did this when they didn't have anything. See, it's one thing to think, okay, well, you know, we were doing okay and we were always doing it. No. If you're wanting to start and you have nothing, then start by putting something. Put in that widow's mite. Put something. Okay? You have to show that it's not about buying it. It's not, name it, claim it. It's none of that stuff. It's not like putting your $1,000 seed to get all this back. You have to understand the design. You are designed, pay really good attention here. This is simple, but pay attention. You are designed to be a conduit, a flow-through. And unless you show him that you are a conduit, that you're a flow-through, he's not going to give you anything because you're a stopping point. If people might actually think of you as a black hole, you know what I mean? Because the ministries all have people we call a black hole. You can throw all the money you want at them, it's just going to disappear and not help anything. They're just what we call a black hole, all right? You need to be a flow-through, a conduit, where you say, I'm going to show Abba, I'm going to give what little I've got. I'll give something so that he gives me more so I can give more and also pay my bills along the way. But you become this flow-through, and he gives you abundance because you flow through the abundance. As soon as you look like an end point, he's not going to be supporting that. All right? I think one of the reasons why this ministry does as well as it does is because we do a lot of generosity, a lot of benevolence. You may not know about it because, you know what, we don't trumpet it out there. Okay? I mean, I can't tell you how many times Billy looks at me like, well, I wouldn't have given it to them, but you did. Just ask him. All the time, he's like, all right, well. Because you may think of me this tough guy. I'm very generous. Actually, probably too generous. But that's not the point. I want us to always be a flow-through. And he's going to continue to support as long as we are flowing what he's giving through to who he needs to get it to. And so if you're not going to give, why would he give you? Think of the tzedakah box. By the way, and like I said, the Jewish people have the tzedakah box. They then empty the box and they bring it to the synagogue and they give the money. But this way they don't have to go there every day or whatever. Anytime it comes up, they just make sure to throw something in the box. And this way they're showing and demonstrating to the way they understand their Creator that I'm a flow-through point. I don't expect to get if I'm not giving. If I'm not helping somebody, why should I get help? So just keep that in mind. Okay, Janet?
And then, Rabbi, when Shannon was talking about, that everybody contributed, right? Everybody, it was a team effort, teamwork. But also, I mean, there were some people who were good at certain things, and they gave their time they put their work to build the tabernacle. And so we as a body, obviously we have also, everybody has different skills and abilities and talents. And so that's another way to contribute. I mean, not just monetarily, but also with your time, right? I mean, specifically with a specific function. Yeah. And with the verse, the 25 verse, I think it was 21, what is the witness? This is the ark of the witness. Thank you.
This is the ultimate witness protection. They took the guy and stuck him in the box to be preserved forever. It's after 9 o'clock. I'm already getting silly. All right. So verse 21, it says, you shall put the lid of atonement on the top of the ark and put into the ark the witness. Okay, that's actually one of my verses to talk about and to cover. So just give me a second, Janet. I will cover that when I get to mine because it has to kind of fit in the flow of where I want to cover with those things. All right. You said you were done with 25? Okay.
25:9. I just wanted a little comment because it says, according to all I show you and make it exactly so. So to me that says guideline structure, and without it we have chaos. So, and we also need to remember that Abba is all about obedience, and he never asks our opinion.
Amen. Amen. Okay, Ashley?
Forgive me, Rabbi. I just want to make sure when you were talking to me and looking at me over there, you got a thought in my mind. I want to make sure I'm going down the right rabbit trail. If we're dwelling in him and he's dwelling in us, that kind of reminds me of a marriage. Is that like what the bridegroom should be?
Yeah, it is also like when Yeshua says in John 17, he says, I in you and you in me. Okay? So it's all the same idea. All right. John 17, when Yeshua says, I in you and you in me. Okay? And there's a lot of that, so that we can be one as the Father and the Son are one, and then that would then witness to the people and the world that the Father has sent him. All right. Justin.
Hi, Rabbi. So 25, all this talk about the gold and the vessels and the instruments and how they're beaten gold. Well, it makes me think of the fact of how we can apply that within ourselves, of the fact that for gold to be malleable, it's got to be free of impurities. And the more impurities that it's free of, the more you can work with it. And in order for those to be and dwell within his house and the tabernacle, they had to be of pure gold. And so to be free of impurities, for us to be able to dwell with him, makes me think of just how much we really need to get out of ourselves, the stuff that's not good, that hardens us, because that's what the impurities do in gold, is make it harder.
Amen. Amen. Anthony?
Tying into the dwelling place and the connection you made with Corinthians, I was looking to Ephesians 2:22, and it mentions, you're no longer strangers or foreigners, fellow seeds of the set-apart ones, and members of the household of Elohim, having been built upon the foundation of the emissaries and prophets, Yeshua Messiah himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building being joined together grows into a set-apart dwelling place for Yahweh, in whom you are also being built together into a dwelling of Elohim in the Spirit. Yeshua is essential as the Torah instructions from before and in the faith now.
Amen. Amen. I'm sure I covered that in the teaching, so you can go back and catch the more full use of that in the Follow the Pattern teaching, but very good connection. All right, from Anthony to Tony.
Don't get us confused.
Not likely.
True.
Take that any way you want.
I don't know how much longer we'll go, but I just sort of a general comment on all this just come to me is all these instructions and details and on building the Mishkan, a place for Abba to dwell and to be with his people. And now through dispensationalism, many modern men think that none of this applies, that somehow we can just come before Abba because we have an ethereal agreement in our head with what we think he is or whatever. And I just, the only reason I didn't know was because I didn't know.
Right.
But it just doesn't make any sense now when you think about it.
Well, and again, what is the reason for this, right? The reason is because of the lack of, with that vertical and the fivefold, a teacher to let them know that what 1 Corinthians Paul is teaching about is connected to Exodus 25. Or what he's telling the Ephesians is connected to Exodus 25. And so when we understand that, then the pattern shown on the mountain, which is Torah, is relevant, which Christianity tries to argue against and make a case against. But see, that's why, Tony, those things are the way they are, because the case is always being made against these things because they're not being taught the base, the foundation. That almost everybody talking in the Brit Hadashah, in the New Testament, is referring to something that already happened or was talked about in the Old. Yeah, Paul is a scholar of scholars. So when he says something profound like, do you not know that you are the dwelling place? He says, or do you not know that your body is the dwelling place of the set-apart Spirit who is in you, which you have from Elohim? So the set-apart Spirit's going to dwell in us, and we could just be anything, anyway, but the dwelling place of Elohim in Exodus had to be built exactly according to a pattern. That doesn't make any sense. But you know what? Until I taught it to you, you probably never made those two connections. It takes a teacher to do that, right? And so when you spend time in church, and church spends 99% of its time from Matthew to Revelation, with a token little something maybe to the Psalms or Proverbs every now and then, you don't get to hear any of this stuff. And you don't know where these things come from and where the connections are. You know, Paul is trying to teach a bunch of people stuff that is absolutely grounded in the stuff that he says was written as examples for us. And then he takes those examples and takes them into their modern understanding, kind of like what I do right now, right? Taking what's in here and helping us understand what that's like now 2,000 years after Paul. You know, how do we deal with this now? Well, first, we never disconnect from where it came from. Paul never disconnects in 1 Corinthians the pattern from the mountain that's in Exodus 25. Okay? Now, he doesn't openly reference it, but if you know your Tanakh, you know that's what he's talking about. And so let's kind of put these things together. But see, if you're a Christian, you think, oh, God just lives in us because that's what we were told in John 14 and about the Holy Spirit. Yeah, but this is all going back to this other pattern. It goes back to the beginning. It doesn't start at the end or in the middle. All right. Okay, we're going to shotgun through some things here. What do you have? Wait.
I just have a quick comment on tithing,
Yes.
if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
So one of the things that I was thinking about was if every single time you look at the money you have and you come to the conclusion that you don't have enough to tithe and you don't have enough abundance in order to do that, each and every time you do that, you're conditioning yourself into a state of being in lack. And I feel like most people do that their entire lives, and be able to change from a state of lack to abundance is something that's incredibly hard to do. But we have this gift of tithing, which is a commandment that literally forces us to approach our money from a position of abundance, because if you approach tithing, you're like, wow, I have this amazing opportunity to give back to Yahweh, who I know is going to bless me beyond anything I could possibly do on my own. You're living from a state of abundance, knowing that you have a Creator that is going to look after you and take care of you, and you're only going to be able to do that if you take the step and you tithe. And it's a gift, but it's only going to be a blessing to you if, like you say with Revelation, if you're actually able to receive it and you're able to make that change.
Amen. Amen. All right. I want to out somebody real quick here. She's already smiling. She doesn't know I'm going to out her. My daughter. Look, but there are people like her, and I wish more of you were like her, and I'll tell you why. Because when she got her first job, she was so excited that she said, Daddy, how do I do this now? I get to tithe. And she wanted to know how to do it and make sure she gets to put it in the envelope and do the whole thing. Then she stopped working, and she was so all sad because she didn't get to tithe. You know, when Abba says things like, oh, that all of you should have such a heart in you, I feel the same way like that when I see what she does with that. And then now she's got a new job, and she's all excited again that she gets to tithe. Why wouldn't we be that way? That we get to tithe. Oh, I have to tithe. Oh, it's my third tithe year. That's just not looking at it from the abundant point of view, like Grayson was saying. Also, do you generally budget when you go to spend your money based on your gross paycheck? No. Why? Because you know that's not the actual money that you're going to get. They're going to take taxes out. So you don't actually plan if you normally would get a $500 check, But after taxes, let's say it's $385 or whatever it is, $400. So you don't plan to spend $500? Of course not, because you know that you really don't have $500. You're going to get a check for $385 or whatever it is. And so you budget on that. Why don't you look at your money that way when it comes to tithing? If you look at it that way and realize the regular job, forget the tithing for a second, that you cannot pay your bills on that $500, what are you going to do? You're not going to stop paying taxes. They're going to take that right out. So you're going to have to make more money. And you would realize that very simply. But somehow with tithing, you never figure that same thing out. Instead, you just don't tithe. See, because it doesn't automatically come out of your check. And you know why it doesn't automatically come out? Because he wants you to choose to do it. I could do that for the employees here. As a service, I could just say, okay, we'll take the tithe right out. I would never do that. Because it destroys the need to have the discipline to do it. Okay? You need to do it, right? But why would you ever look at your paycheck? I mean, you look at your paycheck going, I can't afford to tithe. No, you should look at your paycheck and say, I can't afford to keep this job. Okay? You're looking at it wrong. Simple enough. If you had the appropriate income you should have, you would have never a problem paying your bills and tithing and taxes and everything else. Not at all. Unless you had a spending problem. You just would be okay. And that's where we all get, you guys just have to aim higher. And if you're, now some of you are already older and just realize you screwed up most of your life and now it's hard to change because you've already missed out on all those opportunities. Well, come to us and we can help in whatever way we can. And I understand that. That's why some of you end up on benevolence, which is fine. It's you guys in your 30s, 40s, and even 50s that are just like, get off your you-know-what and fix the problem. You'll be so much less stressed if you would finally fix your finances. Get up and go out and do. You watch too much television. You play too much stuff on your phones and on your tablets and your computers, too many games and everything else, and you could be out there doing something much more productive. And it's not like there's a lack of things you could do. I mean, if anything else, you could drive. Like so many people in the congregation that are driving, and they're making a fortune, relatively speaking, okay? Delivering, DoorDash, Uber, whatever they're doing, they're making money. And they can make that in their own schedule within the extra hours that they need to make extra money. We got a whole bunch of you guys out there. And you know what? I don't think that's going away. Because I think now that we've been doing it, people are spoiled and like the things delivered. So even when everything unlocks, you're still going to have opportunity because people have now learned to sit at home and let you bring it to them. So I don't think once everything unlocks, all of a sudden that's going to get ruined. I think it gets better. Because then they'll be making more money, can afford to have you delivered even more. Because they'll go back and work and they'll still want you to deliver to them. But you could be doing. Anyway, so I like what he said, but just always recognize, just think of it like your paycheck now. If you know what your bills are, and you're in between jobs and you're looking for a job, you would never take a job that after taxes wouldn't give you enough to pay your bills. Well, if you have a job now that isn't enough to pay your bills and you're tithing, then you don't have the right job, or you need a second one. And don't look at me like, well, you don't. Listen, I have been in this industry of helping people with their stuff and their careers and everything I'm 58 years old, okay? I've been doing this a long time. I've heard every story that you could hear of every excuse, and I know people that have figured out a way to make it big. And by big, I mean so they pay all their bills the way they need to. I don't mean big like the world standards, but they find their way to financial peace and abundance. So don't give me any of your excuses. I'm not smart enough. I'm too old. I'm this. I'm that. Stop that. I'm handicapped in some way. Stop that. All right? I've seen a guy at a conference with no arms and no legs, and he found a way to make a living. What would you have done if you had no arms and no legs? Would you be walking around, or whatever he's doing on the stage, trying to get everybody's attention and motivate them? Or would you be home with a pity party wanting to kill yourself? Look at me, I don't have any arms and legs. And this guy's he's written books. He does speaking tours. There's guys that have been in more accidents and more fires, and still they're out there on the tour doing whatever they're doing to motivate people. They find a way. Instead, you sit there and you just, you drink your coffee and your latte, whatever it is, and whatever else you're doing, and you sit there in front of your television doing nothing. Or you're on Facebook whining about life. Oh my gosh. It's one of the main reasons I'm not on Facebook. Like 90% of it is people whining. Okay? That's all they do. It's like wine complain book. And everybody's like liking their posts because they feel the same way. It's like a big giant pity party. It's an international internet pity party. That's all it is. Oh yeah, me too. Anybody else have this horrible thing going on in life? Oh yeah, me too. That's all. And they sit there, stop. Fix it. Every one of you is more capable of things than you ever thought you could do. Okay? I heard a guy one time, I think this is an important one. He said that what he thought of, I guess it was a Christian guy, he said, you know what I think of as hell? I think hell is when you die, and he said when you go to heaven, which we don't believe it that way, but he said when you die and you meet God, that God then introduces you to the you could have been. And his goal in his life, he said, is that when he meets that guy, it's him. That's not what he could have been, that he's that guy. But the more different you are from the person you could have been, the more depressed and torturous that would be. Could you imagine being shown what you could have been that you didn't do, what you could have, that you had the capacity to do? I'm not talking like a parent holding you up to some ridiculous standard that they came up with. I mean, literally the you could have been. The potential you literally had. Okay? Because God knows that exactly. Like your parents said, well, I'm disappointed because you didn't become a doctor, lawyer, whatever they wanted you to be. Okay, that wasn't necessarily your potential to do that. You had a different potential. But you're going to see the you actually could have been. Wouldn't that be scary? Well, why don't you use that as motivation now to become the person you can be? Instead of sitting there whining about it and all this other stuff. Get excited, get up, and get moving. Just like you did when you were a kid and they told you were going out to the amusement park and you were in that car before breakfast. Normally it was hard, they had to drag you out of the bed, but oh no, the day you're going to the beach, or the day you're going out to something you wanted to do, you were up before they even had to wake you up. Amazing how that happens. Like all of you showing up for free dinner on Friday. It's amazing what will motivate us. I offer that every Saturday. You all show up. Maybe we need to do that. He wants you to be self-motivated. He wants you to be inspired. Okay? Having him in you and being inspired to bring that out. And you can do this. I feel like I need to get you up standing, yelling, and screaming and getting excited about life like they do in the motivational places. But that's only going to last as long as I have you jumping up and down. You're going to go home and be back to you again as soon as you leave. Because I know that. I've been to these kind of places with people, and I watched them go home, and it did nothing. And I watched them lose their minds at the event. I came back, I was always pumped up. But I was pumped up if I didn't go to the event. Because I didn't need the event to pump me up. If you've ever hung out with me and walked from one room to the other room, and you see how fast I move, I'm moving at normal speed for me. Because I'm always pumped up to get the thing done, go to the next thing, get it on. I mean, I have a zest for all of that. I'm not dragging my feet. And I tell people, you want to keep up with me, you better have gym shoes and be ready to go. But that's not from anything other than a need to get things done, to be productive, to achieve, to succeed, to be, and the way you do that is you give and provide what people need. That's what you do. In any business you're in, the more you help more people and more serve their needs, the more you make better income and everything else. Serve and help more people, you make more money. Every industry. McDonald's, the biggest chain out there, what does it say on its signs? How many billion served? That's their mindset. We're serving a need. These are all these people we serve. We didn't say how many hamburgers sold. It's how many people served. Go serve a lot of people. Whatever you do, service a lot of people, help a lot of people. You'll be fine. But we have to be motivated. You're going to have to dig inside. The one who wants it the most is the one who gets it. Always. You don't have it. You know why you don't have it? Not for every excuse you give, because you don't want it bad enough. It's the only reason. The only reason you won't be in the kingdom if you're not there is because you didn't want it bad enough. He took away all your excuses because he opened your eyes. That's all he needed to do. The rest of it's on you. You got to want it bad enough. And if you want it bad enough, you do what has to get done. Discipline. If you want it bad enough. But do you want it bad enough? Do you want to tithe bad enough to fix your finances so you can tithe? Do you want to support what's going on? I mean, every time I get up and speak, you have to think somebody paid an offering or a tithe to make it possible for Rabbi to be up there with this equipment in this building and do all these things. Somebody had to. Wouldn't it be nice for you to think I had something to do with that? You know, I helped that every video that goes out to pay Marty's salary for what he does and the equipment he uses and all this cam work and everything else who make with the video, you contribute to that. You make that possible. If you didn't, I couldn't afford to have him work for me and do the things he does. Trust me, when I was doing it myself, it wasn't any good. If you go back and watch all these older videos where the sound doesn't seem to work, the sound does work, by the way. It just doesn't work in mono. You have to listen on a headset. I love all these people that comment on the videos all the time. The sound doesn't work. Like, I wouldn't notice that. The sound does work. It just won't play through your phone speaker. It'll only play through a headset or speakers that are in stereo. Because the software I used reversed the polarity on the left-right channel, and it canceled its stuff out like noise canceling. So Marty's been fixing those for me. All right? So the older ones sound right now. But because some of you were obedient, I got to hire a professional who makes it all work really nicely. Okay? This is what we're talking about here. Okay? And that's where all of this eventually ends up benefiting you back. And some of you want to do more evangelical things. I want to reach out to more people. More money here means I can do more things that reach more people. We can build a studio where we can make shorter videos, and we can put a podcast. We do all these other things. I can travel to different places if there was the money, if we weren't locked down. I can do all kinds of things, yeshiva-wise, to train up people to place in different places to lead and plant congregations. All these things are going to cost money. And you can help with that. I'm not soliciting for funds. I'm just saying these are the things that you want to do all these things? Well, then put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. You know. And they'll get done. We're only doing a phase one on the property. That's only the building we need to move into, etc. We need a dining hall too. I don't think we have the funds to do both at the same time. That may inspire you. I don't know. Because if we had the dining hall and the building, we could do a feast over there. With just the building, we won't be able to do it. We won't have the dining hall we need. So it might take another 6 months to a year to get that building in there. Of course, if we had the money, we could do them both at the same time. Because I won't overextend. I'm not going to put us in a place where we're challenged. We have enough in reserve to pay our bills and everything else for over a year. Okay? So just in case you were wondering, I want to let you know that I practice what I preach. And Billy can tell you the same thing. We have more than a year's worth of whatever we need if we got not another penny in. Okay? Because that's being a good steward. All right? That's why all those ministries get in trouble. They start all these big projects and then they solicit money because otherwise they can't finish the project. We're not starting anything that we can't finish. Amen? All right, so real quick, it's already 9:24. All right, real quick. So these are real quick things I can put on here just to add some things real quick. All right, so chapter 25 is most of this. One thing from 26. So 25, 18 to 20, it says you're going to make the two cherubim out of gold, make them of beaten work, and at the two ends of the lid of the atonement is where you're going to put them. Now, just an interesting thought. Make one at each end, spreading out their wings, covering the lid of atonement facing each other. Okay, that's what he says. So picture this. Now, what is a cherubim? Where do we first learn about a cherubim? Okay, Genesis 3, as they're kicked out of the garden. Okay, 3:24, first place it's mentioned. And he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. So the cherubim are guarding the way to the tree of life. Okay? And they're placed on top of this lid. By the way, this is called the lid of atonement. All right, the lid of atonement. So this ark, actually, let me backtrack. Verse 16, this goes to Janet's question. It says, and into the ark you're going to put the witness that I give you. The witness is the books that Moses is writing. Also, the manna is a witness. So there was the jar of the manna, plus the budding rods, which hasn't happened yet. We'll have those there as well. Okay, so the witness to the events is going to be in the ark. Now, you're going to cover this house for all these witnesses and everything else with the lid of atonement. So think of atonement as something that covers. Isn't that the way we always picture repentance and covering, right? So the lid of atonement is on top of the ark. And then sitting on top of that is the cherubim guarding the way to the tree of life. Now, so that's from Genesis 3. Now, he says, with these cherubim, notice this now, he says, in verse 21, he repeats again about the lid of atonement and then the witnesses. And then verse 22, and I shall meet with you, this is Moses, right? Not everybody. I'm going to meet with you there, and from above the lid of atonement, from between the two cherubim which are on the ark of the witness, I shall speak to you all that which I command you concerning the children of Israel. Follow this. Yahweh meets with the anointed appointed above or over a foundation base of atonement. From there, guarded by the cherubim, Yahweh speaks from the tree of life, right, to the anointed appointed all that he commands concerning the children of Israel. Wow. You got all that too when you read chapter 25, didn't you? No. All right. And this is the first time I've taught this way. So if you go back and listen, I never talked about the cherubim before. And the idea of him meeting between them. They're guarding the tree of life in Genesis. So he is a tree of life to us. And he is there, and he's not talking to us directly. He's talking to the anointed appointed. I'm going to meet with you and tell you what you need to tell them. Yeah. Wow is right. Somebody just like, wow. And don't be impressed with me. That's all he inspired, and that's the download I was given, okay? So, again, these cherubim, which are there to guard, are there guarding on the lid of atonement over the witness. So it's also guarding over the witness. So you have the witness, and then you mess up, and you need atonement to get you to be to where you can come to, between the guarded cherubim, you can go and meet with the Almighty, which is the tree of life. And that Moses gets to do this, and he says, from there I will speak to you, and I will tell you all that you are to command, that I am commanding of the children. I'm going to speak to you, and you're going to tell them what I commanded. Okay? That's powerful stuff. This is a continuingly, always there endorsement of the vertical structure. Okay? Always, that's the way this is. He says, and then verse 34 in chapter 26 again says, and you're going to put the lid of atonement on the ark of the witness in the most set apart place. So now he's saying that, and when this is all done, you're going to take this thing and put it in the Holy of Holies. All right? So if you're going to use you as the tabernacle, this is me making stuff up, okay? I'm taking what I'm taking here and putting it the best I can. There's not a verse that says exactly this. If you are the dwelling place, that it does say, 1 Corinthians, and the Holy of Holies, let's call that your heart, because you have to lay these things up in your heart. In you, that is the most set-apart place, in your heart. So what's supposed to be in there? The Torah, covered by a lid of atonement, guarded by cherubim, where he can then meet with you through the Ruach in there. Now, remember though, you're hearing from the anointed appointed there, not him directly there. The Ruach is going to let you know, this is the anointed appointed, you need to listen to him. So are you able to allow that to be in your Holy of Holies, to allow the one meeting between the cherubim to speak to you? Again, this is a metaphor, this is a picture. It simply only makes sense that that's what Paul was doing. That's what Peter was doing. That's what James was doing. All these writers, all these teachers, that's what they were doing. That's what Jeremiah was doing and Isaiah was doing. They basically were getting this information. Not that they literally went into the tabernacle, but they were speaking with the Almighty what he would command the people. And it's built on the foundation of the Torah and the witnesses, covered by atonement, where he could then meet with them. Just whatever that does for you, if it makes any sense and helps you understand things more deeply. But then when you think about you in the metaphor, realize this is not then turning you into the anointed appointed speaking to him between the cherubim. You're still then going to go hear from the anointed person. And can you receive? That's really the question. Okay, can you receive? Some of you are looking at me like, I don't know. Okay, you have a thought? You want to ask it on the mic? All right, where's the mic? Pass it to Sarah Beth behind you.
How does the fact that if the wrong one approaches the cherubim, the wrong one enters the Holy of Holies, they get zapped, just like the cherub in the garden was supposed to do to keep people away?
Yep, exactly. Remember, those cherubim are still guarding. And they're guarding, what are they guarding? That only the right one is supposed to come and approach. And that didn't all of a sudden in the New Testament become everybody. Okay? That's what Christianity will tell you, but it's wrong. It didn't all of a sudden turn into everybody can now go. Oh, but the curtain came down. Yes, it did. But there's more than one. We just learned about them here a little bit. Which curtain came down? Which one could you see from outside the building, from where the Messiah was crucified? Could you see the curtain in the Holy of Holies? No. There was an outer curtain that you could see, and that one tore. So it's a matter of which curtain tore. And that one tearing took down the barrier between basically the Jew and the Gentile. It was that court where you could not go past if you were not actually an Israelite. That's what Ephesians is talking about. Ephesians 2. I got rid of the enmity between the two, the Gentile and the circumcised. That's what Paul's talking about, the Jew and the Gentile. So that the two could be one. So that was a curtain dividing people away from each other entering a certain point. It was not the Holy of Holies curtain. You couldn't see that from there. Even if it totally rended and fell down, you would never be able to see it from over where they were. It's inside the building, inside the inside of the building. At the heart of the building. And so this is something they could see. So let's just keep that in mind. All right, so that's going to cover it. It's after 9:30. I hope that was a blessing to everyone. I know we covered a lot of side issues and everything else, but, it is a Rosh Chodesh. And so I'm trying to tie this all into things you can take now and do more of or fix or work on in the new moon, in the new month. And so that's really where my focus was tonight. Because normally I would give you that 30 minutes of that anyway. Actually, I probably did anyway. But anyway, look, this is really funny, okay, but I just kind of put this out there. Some of you are like, oh, but, Rabbi, you talk so long and this and that. I saw, and I mentioned already, that we saw this free thing that Tony Robbins did recently. He has a program coming up that's a live event, and the live event goes 12 hours a day for 5 days. Could you imagine sitting with one teacher for 12 hours, 5 days a week? For 5 days, 12 hours, okay? And some of you are thinking that I go too long and you're getting this or that. You know what? Somebody actually suggested we should do that at one of the feasts. Show up in the morning and just get immersed in this stuff for all day, all right? We'll call it CC Boot Camp, Covenant Community Boot Camp, CCBC. And just be immersed in this. But see, some of you aren't going to like it, though, because it's going to be like all these other really good seminars. If they're good, they're going to be real. And by being real, they're going to get you to deal with you in a real way. Okay? You got to be able to look in the mirror and say, okay, yep, that's what it is, and I can fix that. All right? But that's what all these teachers teach. You got to own it first. But knowing it doesn't have to stay that way. It is what it is. Okay, I own it. That's what it is. Now, I can make it anything I want after that. You need both of those thoughts. It is what it is, and it doesn't always have to stay like this. I can make it anything I want. It can be anything. All right? Wherever you are in life right now, you could be in a totally different place a year from now if you really wanted to. Anywhere. You could be anything. There's nothing stopping you but you. And excuses, which is still you. Right? That's it. It's no doubt about it. Oh, I watch these people. I wish I could be them. Why? Are you willing to do what they did? That's all you got to do is whatever they did, you'll have the same thing. Okay? Or something close to the same thing. Talent and gifting aside, but you can still have mostly whatever anybody else has. It just takes work. And don't think the gift has anything to do with it, because gifted people often squander their talents because it's a gift, which means that they do it so easily that they just take it for granted and don't really do anything with it. People who work hard usually do more than the people that have the gift, because they had to work at it to get there, so they develop the habits of working. Gifted people often become a waste and lazy and everything else because things come easy, so they don't put any effort in. They never learn how to put effort in. It's hard. All right. So I want to encourage all of you, again, put the effort in. Be optimistic. Be enthusiastic. Be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, and let it energize you to be what that person that you would meet would be, so you could be the fullest, ultimate, whatever it is you were meant to be. Amen? Amen. All right. Come on. I mean, it's 9:30. I'm just starting to wake up. Come on, you guys got to have some energy. Okay? I don't go to bed usually until 3. I'm just getting started. All right. So we're going to close with, I don't know who did the opening. So we need someone to close. One of the guys that didn't do the opening, we'll let him close. Let's see. Bring it over to Philip. All right, Philip's going to go ahead and close us in prayer.
All right. Abba, Father, just thank you so much for this teaching. Thank you for this Rosh Chodesh. Thank you for this time that we get to spend together. And pray that you would help us to internalize all this and to utilize this and bring us back again safe. Pray all these things in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen. All right, camera crew, people, can we leave the cameras on the people out there? So there's too many, I think, to come up here. Can we get, like we do on Saturday, can we get like a split screen thing and get the cameras on them? Is that doable? Because I don't think you'll all fit back here anymore. Yeah, okay, so we'll give it a minute for them to do that, and I'll come out here. And then we'll do our little wave goodbye thing. Children coming up anyway. See, this is like the routine. They think it's Saturday. Children come running. Hi, Adar. There we go. All right, let's turn around. Oh, good. We got the cameras working on it now. We're perfect. Okay, we good to go, Ben? We good? All right. So we're going to let everybody out there know how much we appreciate them being a part of the congregation at large. So what are we going to do? We're going to wish them a Lila Tov, which is a good night, a Shavua Tov, which is a good week, and then we're going to tell them that we love them. Here we go. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Is this on still? And a Rosh Chodesh.